open house itself can't be grand and can't be great. But there's better things you could do on a Saturday, right? How many of you like to be up on the slopes or out with your family or something like that? So especially as you kind of graduate through your career and get into a point where you have lots of business, like for the Captivate program, we set goals for those that I coach that they get 4 new listings a month. And that's like minimum. We have agents that are doing 8, 9, 10 listings every single month. Wouldn't you like to do 4 or 5 listings a month? And you can, and you should actually. But what does it take to do something like that? It's about providing a value in this industry where our sellers are the ones that are paying for what everyone does, right? Both sides of the business are paid by the seller. And if we can bring value to the seller and they appreciate that and they can see it, it's tangible to them, as we talked about before, then you're going to get more listings. And the more listings you get and the more advertising of those listings that you do are going to cause more listings. Does that make sense? It's going to continue to compound. Your listing advertising, as I said before, is the number one way for you to grow and build your business. You'll get plenty of buyers, but the listing side is where you can showcase the most amount of value. You can do the most advertising. That's not, don't forget me, self-promotion type of advertising, which does not work, by the way. So there's no need to keep doing it. And I know you stress about it and you hate it. How many of you try to take a video of yourself talking about how great you are as a real estate agent, right? And it's as awkward for you as it is for the people watching it, and actually they don't watch it, just to let you know. It's not that interesting. But when they see beautiful homes, marketed well, staged well, and then it's set up in a way that they can know what to do next in this funnel, which is to go to the grand open house. That's when you can build and grow business in such a way that grand open house is one of the best things you can do for your business. And you can get to a point that you have other people assisting you, not buyer agents that are wolves after the buyers that come in, right? That's the worst thing you can do. That's usually how it's done, right? Listing agents get listings, and then they don't go to their own listings, or at least their own open houses. They send a buyer agent that's young and hungry, who's really there for one purpose only, and what is that? To find new clients, right? So it's like, when you go to a dealership and as soon as you get out of your car, you have a flood of people coming. Hey, can I help you? Are you ready? Let's go sit down and talk about it. Like, I just came to look at a car. Please get out of my way, type of thing, right? And that's kind of how this approach of an open house has been misrepresented in the industry, where we are trying to help our sellers basically not only experience more value, but get what they want because of the services that you offer, okay? An open house, they love. Why do sellers want an open house? Huh? Because they believe that the house will sell after the open house, right? And it should. Did you know that? If in most cases, if you get a house ready to sell, it's advertised well, and it leads up, which we're going to talk today about, to that grand open house. And that's the grand opening to the market. How many of homes should sell just after that grand open house? Almost every single one of them, right? Now, there may be a few homes out there that linger for a little bit because it's really high priced, if it's about buyers. But what is the one thing that even with the softening of this market, we're still missing out on in our industry? What's one shortage that we have in our industry? Inventory. Even now we have a shortage of inventory, even though homes are sitting on the market for a little bit longer. People are a little bit trigger shy, but there's still more buyers to every home that's out there for sale, right? So if you do this right, you should have lots and lots of people going to an open house, because for every open house, there's multiple buyers that are going to be interested in it. And if your house looks great and it's advertised well, it will continue to be something that will be of high demand, right? But if you don't do it right, if you don't approach this open house in the funnel that I've taught you to this point, then these things aren't going to work to your benefit or to the seller's benefit. So let's review a little bit what it takes to get ready for this open house and why it happens in this sequence. Okay? So an open house is basically the culmination of a really great looking house, advertised really well, over a period of time, right? And we'll talk about how much time it's advertised. You kind of know what it is. That's those 5 ads over 5 days. We'll talk about that in more detail. And then that house is the grand opening is where people that are all right now thinking about buying property are getting excited about that one house for sale with multiple buyers, and then after that grand open house, you should be looking at multiple offers even right now. How many of you know about homes that are right now getting multiple offers on it, right? They are. Which of those homes? The ones that look good, the ones that are advertised well. Now, I want to be clear about this advertising piece of it. I know as a real estate agent, it's hard to not believe, especially after the last couple of years, that if I don't just put a house up on the market and it doesn't sell, then there's something wrong. Like the MLS is supposed to take care of your listings. In my opinion, the MLS represents about 25% of potential buyers out there. Now that's very significant and that's important. So when you put your listing up on the MLS, who sees that, right? Where does that advertisement go to? It goes to realtors and their clients. Right? So if the realtor's done this correctly, they've got an IDX website, or they use the MLS or a broker website or something that's IDX fed, right? That basically sends out listing alerts to all of their clients that fit a criteria of what they're looking for, right? And so they get those listing alerts and they're like, oh wow, here's a house for sale that fits within my criteria of what I want. And then they contact their buyer agent and say, okay, let's go take a look at it, right? That honestly represents about 25% of the power of advertising or marketing your property. Guess what the other 75% is? That's what we talked about last time 2 weeks ago. That's the using the AI targeted marketing on social media. Your buyers or the buyers out there aren't looking on the MLS as much as you might think they are or want to. They're really directed towards that when they get a listing alert. Okay, they're going to Zillow, which does come from MLS feeds, right? And then, of course, they're browsing the internet and going on their Facebook and their Instagram walls and things like that. How many people are browsing through Facebook and Instagram every day? Yeah, 3.2 billion or something like that total across the world. It's an amazing amount of people. And when you can target specifically people that are shopping for homes right now, and you can do that through social media marketing, then you are, especially in that area that you've got that home in, then you are now representing 75% more of the reach that you can get, and you're going to get more people to your open house. So if you haven't seen 50 to 100 plus people at your open house, that's partly because you're only advertising using the MLS. You're not using one of the most important advertising platforms that you have out there. And that will continue to grow and adapt, even to the point where you can start, and people can start doing it now because it's so inexpensive. Did you know that you could put a home for sale and even advertise that home on Hulu during an HGTV commercial and do it for about $250? Do you even know you could do that? No. Because it's getting to a point now that the digital marketing world out there is so specific about the users that are on their platforms and what their interests are that you can start marketing and advertising so precisely that the cost for the people that you're trying to reach in your particular area is a much smaller group. Before, you have to market to the whole Colorado Springs area. How much would it cost you to put billboards all over Colorado Springs? Or to put a TV ad out there or something like that? It would be way too much money. But if you have one particular area, and we'll talk about this a little bit later, that where you farm, one particular area where you dominate, and you market that area really well, you'll find that the ability to do that and the cost actually to do that is very reasonable compared to trying to do it over a large area. We'll talk about that a little bit later in the next couple weeks classes, okay? And I hope that you are seeing now as we go through these classes how all these things fit together. And I want you to really, it's sad not to have this room completely full like it's been, with Denver and things like that. But if you put pieces of this together, you don't put the whole thing together, it doesn't work as well. I have agents a lot of times that will take pieces of this and say, hey, I like that idea. And we're really good at that as agents. Have you noticed that? We are like squirrels and dogs, right? The shiny object thing. Oh, this is a good idea. I'm going to try this. Oh, here's a good idea. I'm going to try this over here. And we try like 20 different pieces of things. But we don't put together a structure, and we don't put together these SOPs. We don't put together something that puts everything in place so that we can be successful at what we do in a very consistent way and a more complete way. I mean, think about it in terms of like your car, right? You look at the car as a whole and you're like, oh yeah, I can drive that thing and go wherever I want to go. It does what I want to do. What happens when you get a flat tire? Where's that car going? Nowhere. It's a little tiny tire, one little piece of that car. That tire is now flat, and you're not going anywhere until you fix that tire, right? If you have even your engine, you got a great engine, but the timing is off, right? How's it going to drive? So I guess what I'm trying to impress on you is that having pieces of a lot of different things, but not having a structure and a strategy in place and not following that consistently is just as detrimental as not having a plan at all. So knowing what you're trying to do and being able to accomplish that and being consistent about it is really how businesses do well compared to businesses that don't do well, right? Whether it's a restaurant, how many of you know about a restaurant that fails and their food might even be really good? Another restaurant that skyrockets and their food doesn't even taste that good, right? Because there's a lot of things besides just the food, even though you'd think that would be super important, that go into play in terms of creating a good business model and a good strategy that's followed, right? There are really 3 different levels of being a real estate agent that we can help you with if you want to go through that. But the starting level is where most agents stay almost their entire career. And that's where you work on your own. You're basically you wear all the hats and you're trying to do everything in terms of marketing and sales and operations and everything, right? So you're going through the whole process of helping people get through the buying and selling transaction, okay? The next level up is when you actually can hire transactional coordinators to take care of a lot of the administrative duties that allows you to do more of the important stuff, building the relationships and also getting signed agreements, having appointments that will help you and position you as the expert that they're relying on to get what they want beyond the transaction. And then you have transactional coordinators that actually get through the administrative stuff, right? That's why most agents are stuck on the transactional level of things, because they're literally functioning as a glorified transactional coordinator. They say, I'm a real estate agent or I'm a realtor. But honestly, what you are is a transactional coordinator. You're putting signs in yards, you're putting the house on the MLS on a listing, having someone else come and take pictures, etc., of the property. And in some cases with your brokerage, someone else writes the description and puts the pictures up there for you on the MLS. You don't even do that, right? And then you let that take care of that, the sale of that property, and you go from transaction to transaction to transaction, okay? The next level up is that when you have an offering of such high value that you can start creating and generating more business, and then you have coordinators that will do that kind of administrative stuff. Even the things I'm going to share with you today, a lot of the agents, like the ones in Denver that I just taught this morning, it can seem overwhelming. How am I going to have time to do all this stuff for an open house? And you want to have a Saturday to yourself, hopefully. So I'll teach you how you can get to that next level if you want to do that, where you hire a marketing coordinator and a transactional coordinator. Sometimes you'll hire one person that'll kind of do a little bit of both. Then hopefully you're hiring one of each of those, because there's so much that they can do. But how many of you thought that would be a good idea, but you're like, I don't even know what to get them to do. I don't want to waste the money. I'm not sure if I make enough money to be able to justify that, because you're spending a lot of your time doing the transactional things. I'm going to get that job to them now. What do I do? So what do I do? What do they do? That barrier to that next level gets to be hard. So most agents don't even make it to the second level. Okay. Once you get to the second level, then you have the opportunity, hopefully, to grow your business in such a way that you can start generating business beyond your farm or where your SOI really sits, if you want to be able to focus in one area. We'll talk about that in a couple of classes. And then what happens is you get this new listing and it's outside of your farm area. Or you get this new opportunity and it starts to generate more business than you can handle. You have 5 or 6 listings a month and you love the listing side, but that's generated 10 buyers. And you just don't have time to go out and show homes to all these 10 buyers that are out there. So then you start, the third level is you build a team. And that team is when you have other agents that you help to coach and to teach to do what you're doing, but you have them do it in other farm areas, right? And that replication turns you into a coach. You become a mentor and a coach and a trainer for them. But you have to honestly go through the stages. I've seen agents try to skip stages. I just want to be up at this stage over here. I want to be a coach, for example. They'll come and ask me to do that. Until you learn how to do it yourself, it doesn't work. You have to know how to do it yourself before you can train a coordinator or really delegate that responsibility to the coordinator. Does that make sense? And then when you delegate that to the coordinator and they can do that efficiently, and then you start to generate more business because you get to spend more time getting the business and generating a reason why they should use you. That's your brand identity, where you go beyond the expectations and you start to go into the high value service arena. Okay? So we'll talk about that too as in the other classes, but it's really important to understand that you cannot grow your business with a quality service offering and generate the 6%, 3 on each side, if you can't bring added value to what you have to offer, as we've talked about before. That added value is consulting your clients to help them do what they want to do, but do it better than the agent that just does the transaction, right? And so then the transactional services can be delegated to your coordinators. And does that make sense, how you can do that? If you haven't put together your goals and your plans for the year, those should be whatever the next stage is. You should have things that you're doing to help you get to that next level. It should be your goal, 5 to 10 years, however you want to do that, to be at that top level. To be at a point where you don't even have to do as much production, not that you don't want to, but that you're training and coaching others within your area how to do it, and you're working with them to help them do it better. And that's how businesses grow. That's how opportunities come into play, to where you can build an offering that not only generates a whole lot of revenue in business, but gives you that satisfaction of what you do and gives you Saturdays off and weekends off. That's the best thing about being at that third level, where I'm at myself, where I don't work Saturdays and Sundays and weeknights most of the time, right? And I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with working weekends or weeknights and stuff like that, but wouldn't it be nice to be able to project forward what you want to do when it comes to your career? And that's how you do it. So how does this all relate to this grand open house? Well, the grand open house is an offering that the sellers want. But like I said before, most agents think at least the listing agent thinks it's a waste of time. And it usually is, because it's not done correctly, right? When only 3 people show up, 2 neighbors and a friend, to an open house, that is not done correctly. And the only reason you're doing it is to appease the seller that wants to do it. In most cases, that's what happens. And then your only agent that's there is the buyer agent that's hoping that other people come, and every person that comes in, they're like a wolf pouncing on them about trying to get that new buyer business. That's completely the wrong approach, because what we've promised our seller is that we're going to try to sell their house quickly and for top dollar. And in their mind, they believe that this grand open house, so that's what we call a grand opening, not just an open house, is supposed to be that time, that culmination of all the work that you've done up to this point to get people to buy that home then, right? And it really should happen that way. If you do everything correctly, at least 80% of your properties, if not more, should have offers on it after the open house. How many of you had a good open house, and after that open house, what happens? Offers start coming in, right? So let's talk about how to put together an open house. You're going to do it yourself first, and you're going to spend a lot of time and effort putting all this together. And then you're going to get so much business from it, you're going to graduate to the next level where you're going to hire help to help you to do this. And then after that, you're going to start generating so much business you can't even handle the business on the real estate side of it. So you're going to have to get other real estate agents to come in. How many agents would love to say, if there's someone that like me that came along and say, I've got so much business I can't handle it all. Any of you want to join me? How many agents would be like all day long, right? Even if there's a split in there, they would be more than happy to do that if you can set it up in a way where you can teach them to grow. It's like teaching them to fish as well as giving them some fish, right? If that makes sense. So that's what this whole thing is all about. So let's talk about this funnel a little bit of what you need to do in terms to make sure that this works correctly. If your house does not look good, guess what else doesn't look good? You. Well, you don't. Yeah, that's true. But neither does your advertisements to get them to come to the open house, and neither does the house itself when people come to it. Does that make sense? So if you have a smelly, dirty, cluttered, or empty property, it's going to fail right from the beginning. I want you to think about everything that I teach you almost like this chain that you're putting together. If there's a weak link in that chain or a link missing in that chain, how good is your chain? It's no good. Doesn't even work, right? So you have to be able to make sure I want you to understand the importance that every piece, every link to this chain is as important as the chain itself as a whole. And you can't say, well, I did this, this, and this. Every time I have agents that come to me, they're like, wow, I only got like 5 people that came to my open house. And then I ask them, okay, so what exactly did you do? And I literally, within a minute, I already know 3 things they didn't do that made it so that would not be successful, right? Oh, well, and it's usually not the house that causes the problem with a house not selling, especially with low inventory. There are 2 people that are the major problems of a house not selling quickly and for the most money. And who are they?
The realtor and the seller.
Exactly. That's exactly who they are. You're the problem and the seller's the problem. Well, I know you want $575 for this house and it's only worth $500, or whatever you think it is. You don't want to say that. We'll go ahead, this is what a lot of agents do. We'll go ahead and put it up for sale for $575. But if it doesn't get an offer on it, then we might have to bring it down. And how many of you do that, right? We have to do it all the time. But guess what happens if you understand the way homes get sold and the way funnels work and the way marketing and sales work? Guess what happens in terms of engagement and interest in a property when it first goes on the market? It's like Mount Everest, right? And it only does that for what? About 5 days. And then guess what it does? And then it flattens out. You get a house on the market that's been on the market for 15, 20, 30 days, right? Guess what's happened? The interest in that property, which means also the value in that property, has continued to drop during that time. So the purpose of a grand open house is to get the sell of the house to happen when? At the peak. That's when you want it to sell. And the grand open house is the peak. Okay, there's a nice picture right there of that peak right there. Think of that every time you look at you think of your grand open house. I am trying to get everything to come into play. This chain, all these pieces, all these links being put together until we get to that grand open house. And when I do that just right, that house is going to sell right after that open house, or you're going to have an offer, at least one, and hopefully multiple offers, right after that open house. And it's going to sell for more money, right, than it would otherwise if it's lingering, okay? So the house has to look at, you can tell the difference between these pictures, right? This is how we live in homes. This is how they need to be showcased for sale. You need to have pictures with you when you go to your interview or you're going to your presentation and you get that listing agreement. You need to really impress on them because remember, the fault is on you and on them if this doesn't get done right. You have to help them understand. Do you want top dollar for your home? Who's going to say no to that? Anybody? Nobody's going to say no to that. Then this is what it needs to look like. Because people pay top dollar for this, they don't pay top dollar for that. They will still pay good money for this. But does $20,000 more sound good to you? $30,000 sound good to you? This is the highest return on investment I can give you. And as I mentioned to you before, and I'm talking as if I'm talking to a client, I told you that I'm going to spend hundreds of dollars advertising your property using not just the MLS, but I'm going to be using AI targeted marketing with a camera that's going to come into your house that has 9 4K resolution lenses. And I'm going to take it every 5 to 8 feet throughout your house. And we're going to get a completely mapped view of your property with floor plans and drone footage and everything. Do you want dishes in the sink? Do you want clothes on the floor? How many of you sent a photographer over to someone's house and the photographer's calling you like, are you sure you want me to take pictures of this thing? Yeah, it's not ready at all. I'm walking over clothes, right? And then imagine a 4K resolution of that. Yeah, so you have to help impress on your clients that you know best. And that's where your expertise comes in and that's what they're paying for. Do you want to walk away from good money? And I'm firm with my clients. Now, I'm at the level now, and that's why I want you to get to that point where I'll tell a client, sorry, I'm not interested in helping you, right? Because this is not what unless you want to, I have a group of people that flip homes, and I would be happy to sell that to them. But what you think your house is worth, might as well take $100,000 off of that, right? Because that's what they're going to buy it for. But if you want your house to sell for top dollar, there's some things that we can do to help that happen without it costing a whole lot of money or a lot of time, but just basic things. Would you wash your car and clean out the car and make sure it doesn't smell before you sell it? Right? And this is a $600,000 house. So obviously that's what we need to do. Okay? Yes? If it's a fixer-upper and your seller knows it's a fixer-upper, do you advise them to make all of those fixes that would be like flipping a house? No. You can sell fixer-uppers. We do it all the time. Okay. There are people all the time that are ready to walk away from a property. I mean, especially like I just inherited this house. You know, my mom passed away, or my grandfather or uncle, whatever, passed away, and I don't even live in the state. I don't have the time or the. Guess what I think you should all do when you find houses like this, in my opinion? You buy them and you flip them. If you don't flip your own homes, one, you're nuts because you come across some really good deals out there. And two, you're not learning what it takes to get that value. When you know that you can get value out of a property with certain things that can be done to it, and you personally know it because you've done it, how much better of an agent are you going to be and a consultant? right? And how the heck are you going to retire anyway? Do you want to work until you're 80 years old? Going out there showing homes, 90, I'm not saying that you can't, but I would say that it would be nice to go to Europe for a while and have fun instead of, go golfing, instead of having to work because you don't have passive income coming in, right? Because a lot of agents don't have 401k plans. Some of them have some, but probably not much. It's tough to kind of save up for that. So the best passive income, actually beyond our industry, in terms of those that work in the industry, what's the best passive income in this nation? Real estate. 95% of millionaires made their millions through real estate, right? So take advantage of that as a real estate agent. As a matter of fact, you should see yourself. How many of you think, well, I have to have 2 jobs because I have to have steady income as well as I need to have, what I do where I can make really good money sometimes and other times it's not so great, right? What's the best way to have continual passive income? Rental properties, right? You should make a goal. Part of your plan should be every year I'm going to buy another rental property, or every 6 months I buy another rental property. And not only will you get better as an agent to help other people do basically what you're doing. Aren't basically your clients doing the same thing you're doing? Buying properties and then deciding to rent them or to sell them? I mean, really, there's no difference in that. You might have multiple properties and they're just dealing with their own in some cases, but other than that, it's pretty much the same thing. So your ability to be an agent that understands what it takes to buy and sell properties and make money and how to sell them and how to market them for sale, that's your skill set. That's where you get paid. You're not a transactional coordinator anymore. Even as much as you don't think of yourself as that, if you're not advising people on how to do those type of things, and you're afraid to tell them that their house stinks and that it needs to be updated in some way, and you're not buying properties and flipping them, then honestly, I hate to say it, just because you got a license doesn't make you any more than a transactional coordinator. You're getting the deal through that transaction through through title and to closing, right? It's not until you add those extra abilities of helping them know how to maximize their home. Make sense? When you do your listing report, that's why it's so important that you don't just throw out numbers when you do your listing presentation. You actually tell them, I'm going to take the time with my team to determine your home's true value. What is a home's true value? Do you remember this?
How much someone will pay for it?
Well, that's basically what it'll sell for, but you're trying to determine its value before that happens, so you determine its true value. It's in the book. I hope you can remember this because it's so important, and people will value you more when you don't just throw out numbers and you don't just use a CMA. I throw agents under the bus all the time, and I love to do it because that's how I compete. I tell them the typical agent's going to give you a CMA, and they're going to base your home on things that are not even part of the house itself. Homes that are currently on the market or recently sold with the same square footage. For me, that's a baseline. That just kind of gives me a baseline understanding of what your house is worth. But there are 2 other points of value. What are those 2 other points of value? You should know this. It should be something where you have names for it, because if you don't, then they don't believe you and they don't understand it. Its true value is based on its CMA, which is the baseline, its current condition, and its potential to maximize value. Right? Do you remember that? And you give it that name. Those are the 3 points of value, and that shows its true value. And by the way, it's all in the book. I hope you read that. I hope you follow through with it, because as you listen to me and pay attention to what I'm teaching you, and then just like in a college course or something, or high school, or wherever you last went to school, is you read the chapter and then it starts to soak in. And then as you start to implement that, right? And if you go through the coaching program, we'll even help you to implement it even more so. It'll stick. It'll stick with you and it'll stick with them. But too many agents are basically throwing out this idea, almost a cliche of services. Oh yeah, I'm going to help you sell your home for the most money. Oh yeah, we're going to put it up on the market and I'll send a professional photographer over there. How many agents do that? They all do. There's nothing that differentiates you from any other agent. That's why they don't think of you any differently than that. And they get frustrated when you charge more than someone else will charge, because it comes down to price and convenience when quality can't be distinguished, right? So if you want the quality of your service to be distinguishable, it can't be based on the fact that you're always available or that you'll reduce your commission. That's a different kind of value proposition. It has to be on the extras that help them get what they want, but in a better way than anybody else can offer it. Make sense? Okay. So if your house does not look good, you've completely screwed up the whole thing, right? It's like the chain that you're connecting this whole thing to is not even connected, right? Doesn't matter. It's not going to do you any good if you do all the other things. The house has got to look, and you got to convince them that's what they have to do. And by the way, who pays for the staging? Who pays for the cleaning? Who pays for the curb appeal improvements? And the seller pays for all of it. What do you pay for? The photos and the drone and the Matterport, right? And the advertising. You pay for all of that, right? And that advertising not only advertises that property and makes the seller tangibly see, oh my gosh, look at all the value I'm getting out of this. Are you going to charge more than 6%? You could, actually. I've done it before. But in most cases, you're not, right? And neither is anybody else. The only thing they have to offer is, well, I'll even reduce it more. So it's not about reducing, I don't think, and you're not going to charge more. So what's it really about? What extra value am I going to offer? What extra things do I do that nobody else does, right? And if they can see it and they understand it, it can't be, I've got 13 listings, and I'm the top agent in Colorado Springs, and I'm me. That doesn't really mean anything, right? They need to understand what it means for their home. And when you take pictures of their home and you do that tour and you capture information about what they're trying to get and what they want, and then you're showing them how you can get that for them, that's when they see the difference of what you have to offer. Okay, I had one agent in the last class who said, I've been an agent for 23 years. I have never gotten a signed agreement at my present listing presentation. I have this system in place where I don't think they're going to sign there, and I don't know why they would. They talk to other agents, and she leaves her CMA and all that. She said, this is the first time I followed what you did, and I was so nervous. And she's been an agent for 23 years. And she said, I just did the presentation, and before I even had a chance to ask them, they said, okay, where do we sign? And she's like, I could not believe it. I could not believe that they were just willing to sign that. I've never seen that before. But it's a mindset change. You have to believe that your value sets you apart in such a way that people want to work with you and not with anybody else. If you want referral business, it doesn't come when you meet expectations. It does not come with status quo, right? You don't eat at a great restaurant and tell everybody how great the waiter was. You just don't. But you do talk about how great the food was, right? Especially if it's over the top. If it's just what you expected, you don't tell anybody. But if there's something special about it, then you talk to people about that. That's where referrals happen. Okay? So get that house looking great. Then you're going to go through the advertising. Well, we'll go through the advertising in just a second. Let's talk about scheduling the open house. So when you schedule an open house, I used to do this, but I don't do it so much anymore because it pissed too many people off, mostly agents, is no showings until the open house. Anybody done that before? Yeah.
Yeah, it makes people mad.
It makes people mad. So I stopped doing it. It's like, because the thing is, I'm going to be working with these agents, and I'm going to I don't want them to be upset at me. They might even be the agent on the other end of the deal, and I don't want them to feel like I'm a jerk, right? I'm so haughty. You can't see the open house until, But you do have to put the open house up. you have to put the listing up before you can advertise it, right? So go ahead and put that listing up and let the frantic people call you up and say, we're going to put an offer in right now. I've even had people put offers in before they even come to the house. And why do they do that? Because the 3D tour and the drone footage and the Matterport, and the 3D tour, the Matterport, and the pictures and everything are so amazing. They don't even have to come and look at it. They like it so much. But what are they afraid of? Why are they so anxious to put that house up for sale? To put an offer on that house? Because of competition. They don't want it. And what's the whole goal of your grand open house? Create competition. Because competition does what? It drives urgency and it drives price. That's why that tip of that mountain is what I keep referring back. Oh, there's kind of one there too. That your goal is to make that grand open house that point at the top where everybody is like, there's only one. It's like King of the Mountain type. Have you ever played that game when you were a kid and everyone's fighting over being in that spot? That's what you want. You want people fighting over being in that spot. Okay, and it doesn't happen if if you're in the plains, if you're trying to extend this offering out. Oh yeah, it's probably going to take 60, 90 days right now to sell your home. I've heard agents say that. It's taking longer. It's probably going to take 50, 60 days to sell your home because that's the average right now. Yeah, that's the average for stinky, smelly, dirty homes. Yeah, that's not the average for my homes, right? No matter where the market is, people love to buy beautiful homes that are priced well. So that's what your goal is to do. Okay, so we found in this funnel, everything has a strategy and SOP. Have you noticed that with this program? Everything has structure to it. And if you still haven't figured out how to put all this together, how to put those links together in this chain, work with us. We'll help you to do that. Both the accountability coaches that you have here, and I don't know why they're not in here, those stinkers. And then let's give them a hard time when they come in. And then there's the coaching group that we'll take. I'll talk to you a little bit more about if you want to be part of that. And we'll help you implement, set up the tools, get everything in place, because it's not until you have that SOP, the structure, the model in place, and you follow it routinely. We'll talk about in the last 2 classes how to put it all together, your daily, weekly, monthly routines and stuff like that. Once you have that in place and you do it, and you create your own voice with it, your own offering in the way that you feel like it needs to be done, that's when you can hire that coordinator, because you can delegate when you have structure. You can't delegate when you don't. How many of you feel like everything that you know and everything you do is right here? Right? Even your database is right here. Everything's right here, right? Yeah, and you hope you never hit your head so hard that you forget everything, because that's your whole business is right there. Let's turn that around. No business would ever do that, would they? Right? Let's treat your real estate business as a real business. Let's put together the structure that's going to help you to succeed and to grow, just like you wanted to do in the first place. I'm sure none of you thought when you first became a real estate agent that I want to work crazy number of hours, and I'm afraid to add them up, because if I added them up with the amount of money that I actually make, I could work at McDonald's and make as much money almost, right? And then I never want to grow, and I want to work every weekend and every night and never be able to, not answer my phone, right? Nobody ever said that when they first started in this business, and then guess what they end up doing? A lot of their business, right? Because they don't put together the structure and the ability for growth. They're just trying to get from one deal to the next deal to the next deal. And they're transactional in that sense, okay? So you don't have to limit the showings, but how long should the open house be?
2 hours.
2 hours. You saw that up there. Why is it important to be 2 hours instead of 4 hours or 5 hours? Yeah, you want all the people there at the same time. The more people you have there at once, we call that the eBay effect. Have you heard that before? I mean, it's not as popular now, but have you ever bought something on eBay? You're like, I'm not going to pay more than $40 for that, right? And then it gets to that countdown, and you can see all the people bidding on it right towards the end, and you get in that frenzy, and all of a sudden you paid $60 for something you said you wouldn't pay $40 for, right? Or something like that. When you have a certain item, a unique item, which every house is unique, right? And you've got a lot of people interested in that, and you can see them all there at the same time, it creates urgency and it drives price. And that's what the grand open house should be about. You're basically funneling from a beautiful home put up on the market, right? And then the grand open house gets them all there at the same time during that 2 hour period, and then that's the peak, right? And then all of a sudden you're getting all these offers coming in. And they're coming in because they don't want to miss out on something so awesome, okay? 5 days to advertise. We found that this was the kind of the perfect, trying to get it to that peak. If it's more than 5 days, if you're doing 10 days out or 12 days out or something like that, you're going to get a lot of, because I let the showings come in, or it'll piss them off even more if you're like, no, you can't look at this house for 2 weeks, for 10 days. There's some states that even limit the amount of days that you can have it up for listing without showings, right? Do you have that? Do you have that out here? Yeah, don't ever, by the way, never ever do coming soon. Please do not use coming soon, and do not put up incomplete listings. Why is that such a bad idea?
You lose that impetus for the first thing.
That's exactly the reason. If when you put something on the market, well, let me put it this way. What is the hottest home on the market right now?
The one that was just listed.
The newest are always the hottest homes on the market, right? So if you put up your home and it says coming soon, it's not exciting. Oh, I'm going to put up a couple of pictures. I'm going to get people excited with these stupid, ugly pictures with my phone. Better pictures coming soon. More pictures coming soon. You just wasted and ruined the whole grand open house thing. Or they put up incomplete listings. Oh, please don't do that. Put all the information up there all at once. Get people, even the agents, excited. Make sure that every room has square footage in it. Make sure the HVAC system and the age of it and everything else, the roof and everything is in there. There's not one thing missing in terms of your listing. If you put up an incomplete listing, you have just ruined the opportunity to get that peak, right, that you're trying to reach, okay? So then you advertise your property. So again, we're talking about this funnel. Your house has to look good first, right? And you've timed all this. This is where your expertise is so key. Now, once you've got this timing down and all the contractors, that's why you have to do it yourself. You have all these people in position that you become the foreman or general contractor for. You've got the power washer that's coming out, right? You've got the deep cleaner that's coming out, but you have to time that with your clients who always overcommit and they're the worst at overcommitting and underdoing, right? Or underperforming. Like, oh yeah, we're going to pack, we're going to clean. Yeah, right. So you have to impress on them, this is when we're going to do it. You have to be basically a contractor for them, a general contractor, and say, okay, I've got this all timed out. It's like a project manager. Okay, I have this person coming this date and this person coming this time. You've got to have this done. What are you trying to get, if they're going to live in that house, what are you trying to get them to do before that you can do the deep clean and everything else? They're going to pack about 60%, honestly. And I tell them that from the very beginning. You're literally going to pack up and put into storage about 60% of your stuff. They're like, what? The house looks good as it is. Yes, but remember, and I'll show them the picture again sometimes. I have to show it to them. The way we live in homes is different from the way they need to be showcased for sale. Nothing wrong with it. Same with me. I even tell them my story. I remember the last time we had our big move, I thought, oh yeah, we'll get a mid-sized truck and we'll be fine. We could have filled up 2 trucks, the biggest ones out there, as soon as we started on, pulling stuff out of the closets and stuff. How many of you felt that way before? Like, oh my gosh, I can't believe how much stuff we have. And they don't notice it or see it. You can walk into a house and like, oh my gosh, look at all the stuff they've got. They're going to have to get a lot. We did a lot of giving away, a lot of donations during that time. Well, isn't it better to do that before the sale instead of after? Because they're going to have to do it anyway. So that's what I tell them when they kind of fuss and complain about it. Well, aren't you going to be moving anyway? Aren't we going to sell your house? And don't you want to get it sold quickly? Okay. Wouldn't it be nice on that weekend that you have to move, that you're not having to pack up this whole thing? And it's already packed up and sitting in there, and the things that you decided you didn't want, you've already given away, so you don't have to go through all that. There's nothing worse than having to unpack and pack in a weekend, or pack and unpack in a weekend, because a lot of times they're going from one house to another house in a very short period of time, right? So those are the type of things you're trying to impress on them, okay? And then you've got to time this all. Usually your photographer and videographer need a week. You can't just call them up and say, hey, I'm ready tomorrow to have you come in. You're going to be disappointed. So you have to time all that. Okay, so this is all going to be done, and you're going to let them know. If you put together a project, have you ever seen what do they call it? I just forgot the name. It's like a project manager where you have the calendar list, you have the bars that go across. Has to be done this time, and you have your resources listed and your time, right? And then you have these bars that go across that calendar time that's saying, okay, this is when you're going to be packing, this is when the cleaner comes in, this is when this happens and that happens. You got to give that to your clients if they're going to be one of the ones that are responsible for getting some of those things done. Make sense? So you're putting all that together. That's a lot of really important and good things for you to be doing as a listing agent. It's the saddest thing. A lot of times listing agents literally just say, hey, just get your house cleaned up, just do the best you can. They're afraid to tell them their house stinks. They're afraid to tell them to clean up their house. They want to offend them, but really, in my opinion, they're just lazy. And then what do? They go back to their brokerage, they send the information to their marketing coordinator of the brokerage, who then orders the pictures, No coordination hardly at all that happens in there. Sometimes there's some, letting the client, you're good enough at that. Let the client know that they're coming at a certain time, but you haven't given them specific instructions about getting the house ready. And then your photographer calls up the marketing coordinator, not you, and says, hey, this house is a mess. And the marketing coordinator is like, well, it's not my house, so I guess you're going to have to do it, or they're trying to get a hold of you. You know what I'm saying? You see where all this stuff gets all messed up. It gets all crazy and fanatic, and then the home goes up on the market without good pictures, without good advertising, and all those things. And then the whole thing is a flop. Even the open house becomes a flop. So you've got to coordinate all this and know that everything is going to happen and the people are going to go in there. Now, once you've established all this and you're good at it, guess what you can do? You can hire someone and delegate it to them. How many of you thought it'd be nice to hire a marketing coordinator or a transactional coordinator? But you're like, I don't even know how to get them busy. I don't know what they should be doing on a regular basis to make it worth the money that I'm paying them and to keep them productive, and that I have to generate more money now. So what should I be doing? So you're in that conundrum, like, I've never done other things, and I don't know how to teach someone to do what I do because it's all right here. And I'm afraid that they won't do it as good as I do it because it's all right here. That's the problem. That's why most agents stay in level 1 of being a real estate agent through their entire career. And I know none of you want to. Doesn't mean you can't make more money. I know agents that make more money, but guess how they make more money? They work more hours, right? They work more hours. And then you have these poor agents, and I'm just throwing this out there, just not to be sarcastic or anything, but 3 marriages later, kids that don't even know their names, that kind of thing. And they've made decent money, but everything else in life that's beautiful isn't quite so beautiful, right? Learn how to run a business like it should be, and then learn how to be able to go home and be at home without the business getting in the way. And have the people in place that can make sure that the ball doesn't drop. That's it. That's how you could do it, okay? So, what are your 5 advertisements? We're going to do, and this is all structured. That's what's so important about having the structure. I know when I get a listing, and it's even in your book, I have all these check boxes of everything I need to do. And guess who else can check those boxes?
Your assistants.
Your assistants can do that, but you have to do it first. Please don't think, I've been an agent for 20 years, I just give them the checklist. Figure it out. They will drop mini balls, or the balls just will be weird. That makes sense. So you have to be able to do it and do it right and do it with them. Have you ever noticed with kids, if you have kids, I can tell my kid to go clean his room and it never gets cleaned right. But if I clean it with him, at least the first several times when he's young, then guess what happens? My wife had to teach me that. I wish I could say I was smart enough for that. But she's like, honey, you can't tell the kids to go do something. You have to do it with them. So you can show them how it needs to get done. And then they'll learn how to do it because of your example, and you do it with them. Then you can tell them that they have to go out there and do it, right? But you'll never graduate from always having to show them something else that that's next. Does that make sense? So that's how you should treat your business as well, right? So here are the 5 advertisements that you're going to do. You've already shown how great the listing advertising is on Facebook and Instagram. I told you this before. 25% of your reach and your engagement and the interest in your property will come from the MLS. How does it come from the MLS?
Great listing, good staging.
Yeah, but how it comes from there is because other agents have clients that have a listing alert. That's the only reason people that go to the MLS. Otherwise, they do not go to the MLS. I wish the MLS, of all the years they've been in business, could figure out how to have a better user experience than Zillow or Trulia, but they don't. Right, and never will, maybe, I guess. Now, it's a different experience because you get a lot more information on the MLS than you get on those other sites. But people really, if we know it, and Zillow knows this because they've looked at it, and Trulia, what people want to see are pictures, video, and a little description, right? And that's what they base a lot of their decisions on. They get enamored with that property through those things. Your ability to bring insider information, as we're going to talk about more next week, about how to keep buyers engaged with you, but giving them more valuable information about the homes they're looking at, will keep them tied to you during that process of buying properties, right? So that's why you have a complete listing. But then you're going to explain to your buyers or sellers and then deliver them with the ability to market on social media using algorithms, AI targeting. Remember we talked about all this? That is so key to getting that other 75% of reach and engagement out there. You don't do that, that's why you're only getting 6 people at your open house. You know why you only get 6 people at your open house when you just use the MLS? Because agents hate taking their clients to open houses. How many of you would not take a client to an open house when you have the ability to do a private showing whenever you want, right? Plus, if you have a private showing, you don't have some other hounding, buyer agent sitting there, and you don't have other people there with competition. I will do this privately with you. You want the private time, so that's why you don't get a lot of people there. But guess what people on social media are doing? They're just looking at beautiful homes, and if you advertised it right with the right hook and call to action, it says, be a VIP, get a VIP showing at this house before everybody comes and looks at it. Oh, definitely, I want to do that, right? Or come to the open house, and they'll come. About 60 to 70% or more of the people, like 100 people that come to your house, are going to be unrepresented buyers. Is that not a good thing? Is that not worth going to, right? Is that not worth having not an assistant, but a partner in your team on that 3rd level that will go to your open house, but now they're treating the open house as it should be, and they're benefiting from it as well. Okay, and we'll talk about how that happens through the process. But you're going to do your advertisements. If you don't do your advertisements right, the whole thing's going to flop. That's one important link. If that link is weak or if that link is not there, I'm sorry, you're not going to get a lot of people at that open house. That's how important it is to use that type of targeted marketing. So to review really quickly what we learned last week, or 2 weeks ago in that targeted marketing, is that you have 5 ads, maybe 6. There's a 6th bonus one if you've gone through the book, where I like putting all the images up there now, especially with Instagram, right? So those are 6 ads that you have. All 6 ads go up on which day?
The same day.
Okay, the same day, that's right. So Monday, if you have an open house on Saturday, then Monday you should be putting all these posts up that then are turned into ads. Remember that? You put them up as posts first. There's 5, but there's a bonus 6th one. And I do like the bonus 6th one. It's in the book as well, where you put a gallery of images up there. And it works really good on Instagram, but also on Facebook, where you put those up there. Those have worked really well. So I put that bonus in there. So we could say 6. So you have those 6 ads up there. Now, before you do the ads, you do what? You do the MLS listing, and you are very particular about what on that listing? All the details. And then with the pictures, do you put up any pictures that aren't going to get the people excited about the home?
No.
You are not. No hallway bathroom pictures that are ugly. No messy closets. No storage rooms that are full of storage. Things that aren't going to get them excited. And you even put it in the order of the best pictures first. You don't have to do a walk through the house. Get them excited about every picture they see. And if they don't look at them all, it doesn't matter, because they got so excited they couldn't wait to take the next step. That's what you want in that funnel. Make sense? Okay. And then your description is not all caps and all superlatives. That description is very functional. Let the pictures talk about how beautiful the home is, and they can tell that it's going to sell fast because it looks great and it's priced right and all those other things in there. You don't have to say that in your description. Don't waste that little bit of time that people are going to spend reading that. Put in there the top selling points of your property. Use the same hooks that you're putting in your ads in the same order that you're going to put them in to your description. And the hook should be kind of in this order. The things that separate the house from all other houses in the area that really stand out should be first. It's got a swimming pool, it's got a theater room, it's got a gym, it's got a studio apartment, it's got a gourmet kitchen and stuff like that. So those type of things I put first. The standout thing, well, the gourmet kitchen would be more standard, but those other things, the RV parking, does that make sense? I start with those. Then I do the standard things that really stand, that people want, but they expect, but that really help sell that property, which is the kitchen first, then the master suite, then entertainment spaces, and then kind of goes from there, right? So you know what I'm talking about. That's how you do your description, and there's an example in the book as well on how that should be done. Then once you've done that, then you do your 2 landing pages. What are the 2 landing pages? Single property website, right? Whether you use a Total Expert or you use your own, I don't care. But the one thing I do care about is it has video and pictures and drone, or video, that's the drone, the video, the Matterport, all there so they can see it, and no other properties at all. So if it goes back to your own website and it's not structured that way, some websites are smart enough now that they're doing that. Like you don't have on the margin all these other homes for sale, and you don't have all these other homes down here at the bottom of the page, because what happens when they see other homes for sale in that area? They're gone before they take the time to look at it. Yeah, you want them to stay there and spend more time looking at that home. The deeper they go, the more interested they get, et cetera, et cetera. It stops becoming, oh, here's a home for sale. Here's this particular home that has these particular features that I'm particularly interested in. But it takes them a little time to go through that in that funnel. So the first step in the funnel is they see an ad, the post or the ad, and then they're like, oh, I want to see more. Then they go to the landing page. So the single property website is one. What's the other landing page? Eventbrite, the event. Because what's the peak of your mountain here? It's the grand open house, and you want them to go to that grand open house. So that becomes a landing page. I want to be the first person to see it. Even though your agent knows better, I can call and see it whenever we want to. They think, this is the grand opening to this, and I need to be there. How many people like to go to grand openings of anything? People show up to grand openings because it's cool. It's fun. I expect this to be a big deal, and we're going to talk about how to make it a big deal. But that's what you're doing with that advertising. That's 75% of your reach. So let the agents have their own thing about doing private showings, but really get the other people that are just out there, whether they're looky-loos or not, it doesn't matter, because they can be and should be your future clients anyway. Okay? So there's your single property website. And video. Don't forget the power of video. If you are not using video with all of your advertising, it's like you're not chatting or you're not using text. You're behind the times. 2-dimensional pictures are old school. They are a first step in a funnel that should lead them to something that mesmerizes them. And I can tell because I'm looking at you and none of you are looking at me. You're all looking at this because this is mesmerizing, isn't it? When you see a beautiful home and you see how it's being showcased, you're like, oh my gosh, that's nice. And every home can be showcased this way. I don't care if it's condo or townhome or whatever it is. Every home, old or new, can be mesmerizing, and video is the most mesmerizing thing you can put out there. It engages people, so don't forget how powerful that is. Don't skip the drone footage. Okay? Don't skip the video home show, which I'll talk to you about next, or in a couple. Okay, so get that video going. The other video, which I'll show you in just a second, is the video home show. But before we go to that, the cherry on the sundae, not just for the seller when you do the presentation, but for the person that's interested in buying the house, is the 3D tour. This is where today's technology makes home shopping online the most incredible and most valuable and important way of looking at homes. Anybody hot here? It's a little hot, isn't it? Yeah. Did you? Yeah. Maybe we should open up some of the doors. Yeah. Is it all the hot air I'm pushing out here? Yeah. So that 3D tour is incredible. I have clients now. It's funny if I talk with people that understand. I've been doing this for 10 years, and I can't tell you how many people have told me, investors from first-time buyers to anyone, I hate it when I can't see or walk through a home like the homes you have. They get so frustrated because they can't do it. I got to try to piece together what this house looks like from pictures, right? Because pictures don't tell the story the way that 3D tours do. And don't be worried that that's going to keep them from coming to the house. If they didn't like it walking through it, they're not going to, virtually, they're not going to like it walking through it in person. So it's not like you've lost anything, okay? So give them the ability to walk through that property. And if you don't really understand beyond just walking through it, the ability to measure space, the ability to look at it from a 3D tour, or a 3D dollhouse is what they call it, to be able to look at floor plans and things like that. Such an important way to showcase homes. Just this last week, I had an agent, just earlier this week actually, on Wednesday, tell me that, and she'd been an agent for a long time, she said, I didn't think I should do this on a condo. I had a condo, and I was thinking the whole time, why would anybody want this 3D tour on a condo? She said, but I went ahead and did it. It's funny, it's funny when you've been doing something for so long, you've convinced yourself what is good or bad, what's right or wrong in that. And she's been an agent for a long time. So she said, I did it on the condo. I cannot believe the response that I got. It's a 2-bedroom condo. It's one level. It doesn't have like stairs that can go up and down. It doesn't have all these things that I would think. But I got more views of that than any other thing that I put out there. And people mentioned it and talked about it. And now I've got another deal that came from that because I had a 3D tour that of course other clients want. She goes, I'm never going to doubt that this shouldn't happen on every single property. Yes. Did you have a question?
I did.
Yeah. Sorry, no.
Oh, you were talking to me.
Yeah, sorry.
I thought you were looking behind me.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry.
So the 3D tour, that's useful on your website, but where else? Did you say you posted on Facebook?
Yes, that's one of your ads. Okay. So everything in the funnel, just remember this. Every one of those things that you're doing, this is kind of interesting too, and I know like if an agent hadn't quite captured that link, how important that is. They get a 3D tour and they're like, oh shoot, what do I do with this thing? And then they put it on the MLS, which nobody sees. Nobody even, it's weird. The MLS doesn't even put it in a place where it's very obvious. Like if you go into Zillow, the first thing you see is this big, huge play button, and then it says 3D tour. Like, why can't the MLS figure that out? I don't know. But anyway, people are looking at those even before they start looking at the pictures because of how important those are to them. So if you just put it on the MLS and you put this link that they have to kind of look for, which they don't, you just wasted your money. Where does the 3D tour come into play?
Single property website?
It's on the single property website, so it comes in there, and Facebook and Instagram when you promote it. Those are the 3 places when you put it up there. I even put it also on LinkedIn. All right. And why do I put it on LinkedIn? Anyone know? What kind of people am I finding on LinkedIn?
Professionals.
What professionals do I want? Well, they're investors and other agents. Yeah. I want other agents to want to bring people to my homes. And I'll explain more how that works because it does work great. Whenever I have an open house, I send out a link to that, to the the Eventbrite. I have more agents that register for it, for their clients, than I get even individual home buyers. Did you have a question?
Actually, I just figured it out. Sorry, it's in here. About the drone video. I was like, where do you put that video? But you're saying put it on YouTube, and then you linked it onto the Eventbrite. So
yes, and when you put it on Eventbrite. That's the only time you'll use the link, by the way, just to be clear. You never use a link on social media from a video, from your YouTube. So you're going to upload all your videos to YouTube, to have your YouTube channel. Why is it important to do that? Anyone remember?
SEO.
Right? Because who owns YouTube? Google. And when people do searches for you, you want that to show up, to be part of your, you want to own the first couple pages of a Google search for you, right? And having those the videos up there is really important. And it'll actually help you build your rapport and your brand identity and your offering, and people will believe you more about what you offer when they see it, right? You're going to get more of your business not because you go out there and do a great presentation. It's because people are going to see all your ads, then you do the presentation. And it just reinforces what you do. So it'll take a little time to build some of this up. So please, that's another thing I have to tell my agents all the time too. They'll do one thing. We get so transactionally minded that we think, oh, I did these. Why didn't everything just happen like it's supposed to? I did the Eventbrite event and nobody registered. Oh, I must have done something wrong. And then I'll try to check to make sure that they have all the links in place. Like, no, it'll take a little bit of time. It does take time to build up some momentum and to build up trust with agents, with other people out there that are like, oh yeah, every time I'm seeing these properties up for sale all the time from this agent. So now when I'm ready to be a buyer or a seller, I'm in tune with what's going on, and you know, if that makes sense, they'll be more likely to respond in the way that you want them to. We're actually, I don't know if you noticed this, my mission is to change the way people see real estate services. Not that I don't like transactional services. There's always going to be discount services out there, always. And there's nothing wrong with that. I spent the first part of my career helping clients create email campaigns. Don't you love email campaigns? Email blasts that create opportunities through a lead funnel, right, to pick up new business. And even if you only converted 6% or 7 or 10 or whatever we're trying to convert, we didn't care that we might be annoying 95% of the people out there that we're trying to reach. We didn't care because we're getting enough business to make it worthwhile. But now, at this point in my career, and now as things have changed, I really believe sincerely that there is a huge demand for high-value services out there that's not being met by most agents. And there's a huge opportunity for you to be able to offer that, and not only offer it, but enjoy what you're doing and make more money from it. But you have to believe that yourself. But if you don't start offering these services in these ways, you'll never see it. And it will take some time for people to see it and believe it, and even you to see and believe it. Okay? So you do your 3D tour. We don't have a company in here, or here in Colorado Springs that I know of. So if you know of a good company that does your 3D tour with your pictures and your drone footage, that should be one person that does it, then find that person. And that person becomes one of your strategic partners, by the way. Did you notice that I said person and not company? What's the difference between having a person or a company that does services for you?
Person, you have a personal relationship with.
A person is a partner, is a strategic partner in this case. The difference between a strategic and a support partner is that a strategic partner is critical to your offering. You can't offer what you do as well without them. So they become a strategic partner. Who are your strategic partners?
Your contractors.
Contractors, yeah. Photographers, your lender, title. So you shouldn't be like, I have a title company I use. What should it be? I have a title rep that I use, an escrow officer that I use, right? I don't have a home warranty company I use. I have a home warranty rep that I use. And you call them by name. When I ask people, who do you use for such and such, when they give me a name of a person, I know they're doing it right. When they give me the name of a company, I know they're not, right? Because in that sense, or they say, I've got 3 people that I give it to. You don't know what you're doing when it comes to your ability to create strategic relationships, because guess what happens when you have strategic relationships and partners? They go above the expectations. They're the ones that are going to squeeze you in when they really shouldn't, because their schedule is full. They're the ones that are going to go to a property and they're going to be the ones calling you directly and saying, hey, I'm not sure if this is quite ready yet. And then they're the ones also that you've got this property that's got this great big power pole next to it, and they've somehow taken an angle of pictures and video that doesn't put focus on that. Not that they're trying to hide it, but they realize that what you're doing is also what they're trying to help you to do, and that makes them better at it because you're working together as a partner instead of just hiring someone to do a job. Does that make sense? That's what a strategic partner is about. We'll talk about that more later on. So find your photographer, make them a strategic partner. We talked about putting together your single property website. Your Facebook and Eventbrite event will actually combine. I don't know if you've noticed that, but when you put a Facebook event up there, it will ask you if you want to link it to your, or not a Facebook event, your Eventbrite event. you can link it to Facebook. It'll ask you if you want to do that. Now, what kind of account do you need to have in Facebook in order for it to link? It has to be a business page. That's why you have to have one. Okay? And please don't forget, just because only 5 people like your business page and you've never gotten any likes or any engagement in it, remember that Facebook and Instagram are for-profit companies that want to help you advertise, and that's where the benefit comes from, not the free stuff that goes out there. Okay? You have to remember that. And the only way you can advertise on Facebook and Instagram is with a business account. And it has nothing to do really with the number of followers you have or how many people like you. You will get more of an organic reach once that time comes that you've built it up, but you have to build it up. There's no free way to get that. Okay, so stop thinking free. Okay, unless you're going to live your life off of samples in the courtyard or of a mall or something like that. You know what I'm talking about. You can't. You have to buy a real meal, and that's the only way for you to do that on Facebook and Instagram. Pay for it, and then you'll get the benefit that you want from it. I have agents who are like, well, I put all those posts up there. I didn't get anybody to come. Did you pay for it? Oh, well, it was just a townhome, and I didn't think it was worth it. It was only 2 days before, and then they tell me about all the missing links in their chain. I'm like, I don't know what to tell you. You just told me why it didn't work, right? So why are you asking me? So believe me that you have to put all these things together for it to work, okay? Then you have your video home show. I haven't shown you how to do this yet. So in 2 classes from this one, I'm actually going to spend the time with you. Believe it or not, you're going to learn how to film, edit, and publish a video in this class. And you're going to be able to do it yourself because you need to do lots of video. And I will teach you how to do it yourself. You don't need to be afraid of it. And it's not self-promoting, agonizing videos. If you've tried it, how many of you have tried to do that before? Put a camera in front of you and start talking about how great you are, and you've agonized over it, and you hated it, and you did 100 takes, and then you finally put it out there because you made some sort of commitment that you're going to do it, and guess who hates it more than you do? The people watching it, and that's why they don't watch it, right? If you hate it, they're going to hate it. It can't be about you. It has to be about beautiful homes and about your partners and about your communities, and we'll talk about that. So here's a video right here, one of the few times where it's just a little bit of a talking head, but this is Robin Buckwalter. I can't wait to tell you her story and everything. I don't think I'm going to have time to do that today, but her ability to showcase a property and tease people on a property is wonderful, and you can do this too. She did this herself. She was in her 50s when she did this, so it doesn't matter how old you are. She felt like technology adverse, as some people feel, like, I don't think I can do this. Right? She didn't want to be in front of the camera too much, but how many of you can spend 1 minute to 2 minutes at the very most doing a teaser on the property, standing in one place? So I'll show you how to do that. You're going to stand in one place, just like a news broadcaster does. They don't walk around a house or walk around whatever they're talking about. Could you imagine walking and talking and trying to do all that yourself? It just doesn't work. Even if you have someone holding the camera, it doesn't work, right? So you're going to stand in one place, talk about those 5 or 6 main selling points of the property, which anybody can do, right, for just a minute or two. Super easy to do. Think of those hooks in your advertisement. And then she does it with her phone, by the way, and she does it with a microphone. See, I'm wearing this microphone. Did you know you can connect a microphone to your phone and get really good sound? I'll teach you how to do all that, and that you need to do that. That's the only way you can do video. And so I'm going to show you little tiny parts of this, but I don't want to show you too much because I want you to see this more when I teach about it, okay? I don't want to give it away too much, but I want you to kind of get a sense of what this is about.
Hi, I'm Robin Buckwalter with Utah Real Estate, and I'm just showing a beautiful, big family dream home.
She's doing this with her phone. So this is called B-roll, where she actually doesn't just stay there and talk. Could you imagine if you're telling someone how beautiful beautiful this kitchen is, and you don't show the kitchen? What's everybody thinking that's watching the video?
Yeah.
Well, not that there's something wrong. Like, just show it to me. Stop talking to me about it. Show it to me. So that's what you're going to do. Well, I don't know. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, she could have cleaned that up, couldn't she?
Counter and a lot of there's I can set you down. It's listed Karen.
You know what she's doing here? She's talking to a neighbor, right? Does the neighbor look nervous? She's not, actually. And struggling with what she's saying. Does she need a script? We'll talk about this more, but you won't believe how powerful this is. I can't tell you how many people I've heard from that said that neighbor interview is what sold me on this house. Right? Why is that? I had one recently that said we were thinking between 2 properties, and when that neighbor talked about how great the schools were, do people buy homes because the schools are great? right?
Yeah.
Do they buy homes because of the neighborhood and community, not just the house itself? Guess what? And I'll teach you this more as we go through that. But guess what's one thing the neighbor won't talk about? Doesn't even mention the house. She mentions everything else about the community and why living there is so wonderful in the community. Because people don't just buy homes when they buy homes. What else do they buy? The community. And when a neighbor talks about how great the community is, that's what helps people that want to buy in that neighborhood, in that community, get excited about it. Plus, you just rub shoulders with someone in the neighborhood. Yes?
What do you say to the neighbor when you're asking, can I video you?
I will teach you that when we get to that point.
Oh.
It's really easy to do. Yeah, it is in there, but it's not hard to do at all. Because you always, and I'll teach you this more in that class, but you always think about the other person's needs and wants before your own. You want the video, and if all you think about is I want you to be on video, and you kind of approach it that way, you're going to scare the hell out of them. They don't. No one wants. Hey, will you tell me about how nice the video is? This house is, and they're like free, deer in headlights type of thing. But anyway, I'll teach you more how to do it. You can do this in a way that it ties into what they want. And what does a neighbor want?
A good neighbor.
They want great neighbors, but it's not just about a great neighbor. What they want is they want other people that might be interested in buying in this neighborhood to understand the values like they see them, so that they have the same value set that they do. It's a value set thing more than it is just about, the schools are great. It's about how they feel about the neighborhood, not just about the things that are in there. Does that make sense? We'll talk about this more as we go along. So it works really great. Okay. So then you do your Facebook booster or ad manager. So you're going to advertise it. Remember, you put a post up there, 5 of them or 6, and then you do that day 1, Monday, and they're advertised all 6 days. Why is it important to have 5 or 6 ads up there instead of just 1? Why not just put 1 really good ad out there? Well, because every single ad can have a different hook and call to action. I like to have 2 call to actions, by the way. I didn't really quite mention that, but I have a half-step call to action and a full-step call to action. What's my half-step call to action? Something that's easy for them. Click here to see more pictures. Click here to see the 3D tour, right? That's like, that's an easy thing to do. I'm not giving you my information. I don't have to call you. I don't have to commit to anything because I'm not quite sold on it yet. That's a half step. The full step is, I want to RSVP for that, open house. I want to call you to get a showing, right? So I like to do 2 call to actions, 1 half step, 1 full step. Again, it's a funnel. Hey, where is everybody? You tell them they need to come in here and be a part of this. Yeah, you just bring them in here. You tell them I'm not coming back. I'm just kidding. And the reason I say that is because you're going to want to know what it is that I'm promising to your clients. It is warm in here. Yeah. Yeah, it's really hot.
You need some more.
But hey, make sure they come in. Okay, because the reason I'm saying that is because I'm going to be offering things to you that come from them. So they have to be a part of this. And they're all new to this. So I'm surprised. Like in Denver, all the loan officers were there. And all of our other classes, we make sure they come in. So I know what's going on there. And now it's on film, so they're going to have to feel guilty about this. So Facebook Boost or Ad Manager. I would make it a professional development goal of yours to learn how to use Facebook Ad Manager. Okay? Now, I don't want you to be intimidated by it. I used to teach it, and it intimidated everybody. It is a little bit of a learning curve. But Facebook wants you to succeed, or Meta wants you to succeed with advertising. So you're going to get more options, and you're going to get more reach, and all sorts of great things with Ad Manager. But I don't want that to hinder you or keep you from being able to boost it and do a lot of great things of getting those ads out there. And that's why Facebook and Instagram or Meta put those out there. And on Instagram, it's called Promote. But it's really the same thing, just a button at the bottom of your post that you just fill out a 1-page piece of information, right? And you've seen that, it's in your book, so you can follow through with that. And there's a video up there as well to show you how to do that. That's what you need to do. If you do not pay for those, you're not going to get the reach and engagement. It's a for-profit company offering an incredible service at an incredible price. Take advantage of it. If you don't do it and you're trying to be cheap, then you're never going to grow your business and you're never going to showcase great value. Invest in your business by investing in these listings. It's not just, or listing advertisements. It's not just cost that is going to help promote that property. It's how many of you have thought about how do I advertise myself? How many of you have been tempted to put your face on a bus or a bus stop or a shopping cart thing or postcards that you send out? This is so much better than that. So much better. So take use that money and think in your head, even if I could have sold the house anyway and it doesn't make a huge difference in my commission, every time you advertise a listing, that's going to generate more future business and a brand identity that's going to separate you from all other agents out there. Believe it, okay? So again, use the boost and boost it with that. It's in the book. It's on the video. Take advantage of all that. By the way, if you go to intercaplending.com/captivate, everything that's in that book with those QR codes is there. I've had some people say, I don't want to use my phone to go watch that video because I want to see it bigger. I want to do it on my computer. So you don't have to figure out where each one of those links go. If you go to intercaplending.com/captivate, that's in there too. Every link, there's a button for every one of those QR codes in there, okay? For those how-to videos and things like that, okay? Any questions about doing the advertising? And if you don't do the advertising for at least 5 days, 3 or 4 days at least, it's just a waste of money. So you want to time this. I have agents all the time like, I didn't get my pictures back in time. They're not project managers yet, or they haven't gotten used to putting all this together. Oh, it's only 2 days to the open house. Is it worth advertising? Well, you might as well. It's better than not advertising, but you certainly aren't going to get the kind of reach or engagement. Or I had one agent just recently ask me, well, I've had the house up on the market it's been up on the market for 60 days now. It hasn't sold. So we're going to do another open house, and we're going to do all these. I'm like, that's good. That'll be good for you. But you're not going to get the same kind of engagement as that peak. You're basically down here somewhere, and then you decide to do an open house. So yeah, I might do this a little bit, like the stock market, So that's fine. But if you do this right and you do it in the sequence and in the way that it should be done, like we're teaching you, you'll find that this works really well, and then it works better and better and better as you do it. It's like, I know you don't want the snow to stay, right? If you're a skier, you do. On the mountain, you get the base, I'm talking about, the base of snow, and then you keep building on that. That's kind of what this will do for you. Is you're basically, when you first start, it feels like you're getting that first little layer of snow, and the sun can come melt it in a second. But if you continue to build up that base, if that analogy makes sense, does that help a little bit to understand that? That don't worry so much that if at the first open house, well, I only got 12 people here. I wanted 100 people here. Well, how much did you have last time? Well, 4, So it'll get better and better as you go along. You actually have to teach yourself, as well as teach all the people out there that you're working with, that you do things differently now. And most people won't even believe it at first because they haven't seen it yet. Once they start seeing it and they experience it, then it's going to continue to grow and build from that, okay? For example, when I do an ad out there, I'll get 4 to 5 times the reach that anybody else that does it, because I've done this before with agents that I coach, where I'll put it on my business page and I'll put the ads out there, and for the same amount of money, I'll get 5 times the reach and everything, sometimes 10 times more than they will when they first start. Just because I've been doing it for a while, I have a bigger following, I have more people that are engaged with that already organically. Does that make sense? So you're going to have to build this up. Just believe that it takes time. Everything good in life does what? Or needs what? Time and effort, right? You can't have the Staples button as much as you want it. You know what I mean by that? You can't just push a button and everything just happens. You got to commit to what you're going to do, and you're going to do it and believe that it's going to work. Make it part of your goal set, your goals that we'll talk about as we go through this later. Okay, I'm now at the part where I'm going to start making promises. I'm saying this to you because if they're not in here, they're going to start getting asked, like, well, hey, are you going to do this for me? And like, I don't know what you're talking about. So anyway, you might want to tell them about it. But at least you'll know. Okay, so you get to the point now that you're going to have your open house, right? We've done this funneling. The funneling's been online first. The first step was to get them to want to come to the open house. They've had 5 days of ads, and if the ads are done well, guess what happens? They see one ad and they don't actually respond to it. And then, but they spend a little time looking at that video. Wow, that video is mesmerizing. Do you know if Facebook sees you looking at that video, which they know if you suck on it for at least 3 seconds, it's now given that indication that you're interested. So guess what's going to happen with the other 5 ads? They're going to be more likely to see those other ones. And then they're going to see a couple more and a couple more. It might even take 3 or 4 ads before they actually click on it. And remember, too, that they won't understand everything that was offered on each one of those because they didn't spend the time on it. How much time do you spend looking at the posts, right? But the repetition is really important. So you spent this 5 days repetitively kind of putting that house in front of them. They've already indicated to Facebook and Instagram, I want to see homes in this area, right? So it keeps going there. So there's already that want there already, right? So you're not just throwing it up in front of people that don't care. So that's how this works so well. So you got them interested to come. Hopefully they've even registered to come. And then they come to the neighborhood. This is a grand opening. So how many signs should you have in your neighborhood leading up to your house?
3 large feather flags.
Okay, that's up there. That's just the start, by the way. How many signs do you guys put up?
40 signs.
Who said 40? That's about what you need. 30, 40 plus signs. How many of you think that's absolutely nuts? Yeah.
That sounds like a lot.
Yeah.
I have 5.
Yeah, only 5 signs,
I only
right?
have 5.
Yeah, you're going to get more. And I'll explain to you why you need this. How many of you had an opportunity to put billboards up all over Colorado Springs would do it in a second if you could do it? Right?
Could do it.
Yeah, if you could do it, right? Whenever you have an open house, you have the signage opportunity of a lifetime. You're going to give all these people that have already seen all these ads, all the neighbors that hopefully have started seeing it too because they're friends with the owner of the property, then the owner of the property, and the reach is just amazing how it is online, the way it works, right? To the people that are right there in that area, people that are looking for a home. You want to impress people for future clients. You impress them with things that they can see and understand. That's what makes a difference. Okay, I have so many stories I could tell about that, but just don't have time for it. But it's so important that our senses, all of them, are touched in some way to kind of reinforce this idea of value of service, right? And purpose and things like that. So when someone comes to your neighborhood of the home that you have that's a grand opening, there should be no mistake how to get to that home. There should be no mistake that it's your home. All these signs, by the way, should be branded for you. They should be your colors. They should be your name, your phone number if you want to do that, and then of course these are going to be directional signs. So you're going to need 3 of these. They're 12 to 15 feet tall. Please do not use balloons. You are not hosting a kid's birthday party or a circus.
But
Okay?
it creates movement and it catches the eye.
I'm
But
telling you.
helium's in a shortage. So
This creates movement too. Yeah, this creates movement too, and it's
balloons on every sign.
well, okay, and I know, and I've touched a nerve, and I totally understand that, right? But I'm going to tell you, it is not a birthday party, and it is not a circus, and it cheapens the offering, in my opinion. But you can feel otherwise, right? I don't know everything, and I'm, as much as I act like I do, I don't. But I will say that I will never ever use balloons, right? To me, that doesn't. If I go to a BMW dealership, I'm not going to see balloons there. If I go to a Hyundai dealership, I might. So that to me is the difference in that.
It's
Okay?
a lot of work.
Huh?
It's a lot of work.
And it is a lot of work too. So anyway,
That's true.
yeah.
Yes.
12-foot tall signs. How far away can you see a 12-foot tall sign?
Pretty far.
Pretty far away. Okay. Why do you need 3 of them? You have one at the house itself that's for sale, and one of the 2 main entrances of the neighborhood. Okay. No doubt that you have this open house. And then guess what's every 25 to 50 feet and every turn and so that they never mistake how to get to your place. One of these. And these aren't these little tiny signs or these signs you write on or A-frames that are on the ground. These are, they're staked in, but 18 by 24. These are great big signs, full color, your logo, right? Your branding that's on them. It's not going to look like anybody else's. I don't care if 5 other people have open houses in the neighborhood. My signs don't look like anybody else's signs, right? And no one's going to accidentally go to another open house because they didn't go to mine. They're going to keep following mine because it's like a racetrack with the car. It's like they're landing a plane to my house type of thing, okay? That's the kind of signage that you want. And that signage tells everybody in the neighborhood, like a billboard, about you and about how much you do. And how I can't tell you how many people I've heard from that neighbors have said to them after they've done interviews and seen the signs and stuff, I'm not ready to sell my house. When I am, I've never seen an agent do this much work, for a house. And it does seem like a lot of work, and in some cases it may be for those that don't do things like this. Guess what you do when this becomes a lot of work? Yes, you hire other people to do it. I never put up signs anymore. They'll never have to. I can't remember the last time I put up signs.
That's the worst job.
Yeah, it takes about an hour. Yes. So until you can afford to hire someone, how many of you have kids that you do child labor with? Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
You can't get the thing in the ground.
Yeah, that's possibly true. Now, I will tell you about these right here, these feather flags. A lot of the cost of that goes into the stake thing. It's this big, heavy thing that goes into the ground because those things will blow and they're really tall, so you want those in the ground. You know how much these cost to get personally branded? If you were to buy them, they're about $250 each, right? So we decided with everything in Captivate that we partnered up with a company because we wanted to offer this without having to go out there and look for it. You can get these, I think, for like $75. branded for yourself. Even our marketing team will take your colors and your logo, whatever you want, and we will do this for you. So that's why you guys need to be in here, because that's what they're going to ask you for. And they even have the ability to pay for it, half of it, I should say. So they'll put a welcome home, it just says welcome home, little tiny logo on that so that's compliant, and then everything else is yours to put on there, and then they can help you do that. So if you go to intercaplending.com/Captivate, there's a Captivate store, and all your open house stuff I'm talking to you about today is there. And I totally recommend that you do that, or do it yourself if you need to do that, but you need to have them branded for you. And again, the directional signs make it so that it's impossible for someone not to find your home. And not just find your home, but realize that you are the most amazing agent in this whole neighborhood. Okay? So those are your signs. Any questions about signage? Any other ideas or thoughts?
Have you had it where they're prohibited?
Okay, I don't even care. And I'll tell you why. I always do it. It's better to say you're sorry than to ask permission, is one of my philosophies when it comes to most things, not all things. And also, if you put the signs up an hour before the open house and take them down right after the open house, you don't have to worry so much about that. I mean, every now and then I've had someone, oh, you're going to get in trouble, or even like, I'm on the board and we're going to, never have gotten fined, nothing has ever happened. Now, you leave them up for hours or days, obviously. They're going to get stolen or lost, or people are going to get upset at you and all that kind of stuff. You got your phone number on it. You're going to get texts from neighbors. They're going to say, I hate you and stuff like that. I ignore those anyway if they do it, but I don't care. If it's an hour or so before the open house and an hour at the most after the open house, and I have other people, I don't do very many myself anymore because I'm at that third level where I coach other agents and I help them. It's their open house. I'll help them as they do it, but I don't have to do that much production myself, right? I just do my own properties because I let them and I teach them how to do that. And then I make an override from that, right? That's the third level. That's where you should want to be at some point in your career, hopefully. Not saying that you have to go out and teach classes like this, but you should at least have a group or a team that you can teach to replicate what you're doing. We'll talk about that more a little bit as we go into the other classes. So that's all the signages you have, or the signs that you have for your property, okay? Can I get I have a drink right here. Thank you very much.
I can get a cold one.
No, this is perfect. Thank you. Okay, so again, we're funneling people from wanting to come to the neighborhood because of all the online advertising. Then they get to the neighborhood, no doubt how to get to your home, and then they get out and they're so excited and they walk up, and what do they do when they get to the front door? Donk, 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 ring the doorbell. Why do they do that? I mean, there's open house signs all over the freaking place. It says open house. But why do they do that? Because it's a house and not a business. They don't feel comfortable about walking into the house. Does that sound about right? So guess where the agent stands the whole time, especially if there's a lot of people there? Opening the door, opening and shutting the door. That's the worst place you can be, by the way. Did you know that? You do not want to be there opening the door for people. Your job is much more important. And you don't need to have an assistant open the door for people. Just have a sign on the door that says open house. Come on in. Okay, so they open the door and they come in. You're going to have 2 stations in your open house, and you're going to roam between the 2. That's your place. This again is what is, for me, it's what's important, is that not only does everything have a purpose and a strategic, or a strategy to it, as well as a standard operating procedure, right? All of that is part of what good businesses do. So that not only can I make sure that I'm consistent as I do it, and as I do it the way that I think it needs to be done, because you can refine it, but then I can do what? After I've done it enough and I know how to do it right. I can get an assistant to do it. This is exactly how it's done. Or I can get other agents to do it if I'm going to teach them how to do it, right? That's how you grow your business. So you roam between the 2 stations. Okay, station number 1 is your shoe cover station. Every house has a place where you put shoe covers on. Now you want it to be in a place where you can walk in and not be in everybody else's way. So hopefully if there's a foyer that's big enough, maybe there's an office or a little room, like one of those little opening rooms, right, in the front of the house. Put it in there if you need to. But you want it in a space where it's not going to get too convoluted or too crowded, I guess, if you have a lot of people coming through. But it's funneled in a way that everybody knows, I'm supposed to go here. So guess what you should have as soon as they walk in, and let them know what to do. There has to be a big sign. And that big sign should say, please put on shoe covers. Okay? And you want them to do that. There's 2 main reasons you want them to put on shoe covers. What do you think those are?
Because they stop and look around.
Okay, you want them to stop, so that's very good, and I'll explain why that's important. But you're going to get them to sit down is what you want. So you should have, I bring a bench. I have a company that, or it's a guy at his house, but he does it as a company, where he builds these really cool benches out of slabs of wood. And I have a big one. You want at least 4 or 5 people to be able to sit down and put those shoe covers on. Have you ever seen someone try to put shoe covers on while they're standing up? Yeah, it does not work very well. But you want them to put shoe covers on, one, so that they will sit down and stop. So that's number one, or not in that order. But the second reason is that you want to impress upon them as soon as they walk in that what? This is a special house. This is a really nice house that we're taking really good care of. Everything about it. I don't care how old, little, whatever that house is. Every single property, condo, townhome, it does not matter. You put those shoe covers on. Everybody will feel the respect and honor that by putting those on. Then they sit down and they put their shoe covers on. That's where you introduce yourself, right? And this sounds, maybe it's not to be a manipulation because you want to be genuinely concerned and in that service mode. But guess what happens when people are sitting and you're standing when you go in to introduce yourself? You're in a dominant position. And it no longer is that annoying salesperson that's at the door not letting them in and letting them go do what they want to do. They're now sitting down, they're putting on the shoe covers, and you come up and introduce yourself. They will take the time to talk with you for just a minute, and that's what you want them to do. You're going to have 3 different types of people coming to your property, and you want to make sure that the way you introduce yourself to them and how you speak to them is what's going to lead that interaction to help get to the next step in the funnel and help you get new clients and new business from it, okay? And remember, what's the mission of a Captivate agent? Better remember that? Create raving fans. Everybody that I meet, everybody that I work with, everybody that I want to work with, I want them to know that I care about them before I care about me. And that's the only way to create a raving fan. And we'll talk about that in the 2 classes from now, how important it is to understand that it has to be about others before it's about you. This isn't about sales, this is about service. And believe it or not, people that are really good at sales are the people that nobody likes. People that are really good at service are the people that everybody likes, if you know what I mean, right? So some people are good at sales, but really they're just good people. And so they like them. They might say they're good at sales, but honestly, they're good people. And good people are the ones that think about others before they think about themselves. Does that make sense? Okay. So when you go up and introduce them, here's what's important about this. When you have in that shoe station, or that shoe cover station, I should say, you're the best dressed person there. I'm not saying you have to wear a suit and tie, but you should, or a dress, but you should be. It should be no doubt that you're in charge. Right? They need to know that without guessing. So you should not be in your workout clothes or your golf attire because you're going to go hit 18 holes after the open house or whatever. You need to be dressed up so that they have no doubt that you're in charge. This is the only time that I highly recommend that you have a name tag. Right? In other cases, I'm not saying a lot of agents, some agents feel like it cheapens them. I'm not working at a fast food restaurant. Why should I have a name tag? Some agents like to have it because people come up and talk to them about being an agent, but then you're wearing it on your coat, or whatever all the time. So you can decide on that part of it. But at your open house, you should have a name tag. Why should you have a name tag?
They know you're the agent.
They know you're in charge and they know your name. That's really important. You don't want them to forget your name. How many people are you going to be introducing yourself to? Right? And how often are they going to remember? How many names do you remember as many times as you get introduced to someone? But they see your name. How many of you love it when someone has a name tag and you use their name? It makes. I know. I know. Me too. I did. Exactly. I did too. I think we're going to have the technology, like the Google glasses, and it's going to tell me their name and everything about them. Like the database is going to be right here, like that little circle, and it just tells me everything. Like, oh, you just went on vacation to Cancun. Let's talk about this. It's like, imagine how great it would be to connect with people that way. So it will happen. I bet our grandkids, they'll have something like that. Never forget anybody's name. Because according to Dale Carnegie, what's the most important word in the English language or any language? Someone's first name, right? So be able to use that. So have your name there, then they don't have to worry. And they'll even, oh, hey, Cheryl, hey, John, or something like that. And people love to use your name as much as you love to use theirs. It's kind of this fun back and forth thing because it makes people feel important and it makes them feel like there's something between the two of you, and you want that to happen. Wearing a name tag actually brings people closer to you, as crazy as that may sound. So have the name tag on. Then you're going to have 3 different types of people that you're going to introduce yourself to. Now the next station is the kitchen showstopper station. You want that to be a showstopper. That's what we call it that. How many of you have done an expo before? Have you done something like that? You want to set up your station. Basically, it's usually on the island or the table, or if you have to, on the kitchen counter, depending on the size or the kind of property that it's at. And you want it just to stop them in their tracks. And I'll explain what's going to be there in more detail after I explain what you do when you talk to these people at the first station. But you're going to basically be funneling them or guiding them to the second station. Okay, that's really, again, this is all about a strategic funnel of what you're trying to get people to do. How many of you feel like you have an open house and it's just a free-for-all, right? And then most agents, they're buyer agents, and they're just working on their computer the whole time. They're not even looking up or they're on their phone, and they look up just enough to see if you're unrepresented. If you are, oh yeah, go ahead, have fun, enjoy. Oh, you're the neighbor, yeah, go ahead, and that's not the way it should be done. So the 3 different types of people that come into your open house are whom?
You're going to have agents.
Okay, good. So you have represented buyers,
Neighbors.
unrepresented buyers, very good, you see it right there, and neighbors and looky-loos, right? So yeah, you can follow this along in the book, and it's right there. So you have those 3. You're going to speak to them a little bit differently, but you're going to acknowledge and want to know where they are, or who they are. How many of you can spot an agent in a second when they come in with their clients? You can, yeah, it's pretty easy to spot. So when you meet an agent at an open house with their clients, here's what I suggest. Only look at the agent. Only direct yourself to the agent. It's just polite to do that because what's their biggest fear? Or try to steal their clients or something. So you look right at the agent and say, I'm so glad you came and brought your clients, even though I'm not looking at them. And please go to the kitchen. You tell them. That's basically what you're doing is you're telling them what to do next. When you approach it that way and say, hey, who are you and what are you doing and what do you want? You're basically telling them, I want to get information from you because I'm a salesperson. But when you say, oh, I'm so glad to see you come, please go to the kitchen so you can get this, this, and this that you want, right, that they're going to want. Then it kind of creates this conversation that's about them and about what they want, not about you and what you want, okay? So you're going to basically say, please go to the kitchen. I put in there a clipboard with the MLS listing printed out, so that you can use that as you help your clients as you walk through the house. Do you think that's important? It's super. I'll explain that in a second when we get to the kitchen setup. And then you're going to say, and don't forget to register. Don't worry about registering your clients, just you, because I'm going to send you, and this is why people are going to register, by the way. I'm going to send you a link to the 3D tour. I'm going to send you the floor plans of this house. I'm going to send you the drone footage of the property, and I even did an interview with a neighbor talking about what's so great about living in the neighborhood. And I might even point out a couple things. She talks about the schools, or something like that, if I feel like they're young parents or something like that. That's the reason why people register. How many of you have had registration and nobody registers except for Mickey Mouse and something like that, right? You can't read it anyway, right? Because people don't want to register because why? Yeah, they don't want to get marketed to. You have to give them a reason to do it. Why do people go online and actually put the real information when they look at homes? They want you to call them so they can go look at that home, right? So it's the same thing with any type of registration. Don't expect people to register for your open house because you're giving something away or you told them to register. Give them something of value. So I'll explain this in a second when you put the kitchen setup together. But when you're in in that front open foyer or whatever where the shoe cover station is, you're going to say, please go to the kitchen and sign in. And then with the agent, I tell them that you'll get all these links so you can share them with your client, right? And why do people want the 3D tour? Why do they want the video interview? I mean, it's obvious, isn't it? It's just so you want it to be that obvious. And they use those to share and to remember. How many people go and look at 3 or 4 homes with you and then they can't remember which home had what or did what or something like that, or they want to tell their family about it? That's what makes those 3D tours and single property website links and all those things so powerful. So you say that you're going to send that to them so that to the agent so they can share that with their client. Got it? That's all you say to the client. Oh, actually at the end of that, you tell the client, and I'm very forward about what I can offer when I know that it's of value to them. I say, and when you're ready to make an offer, please come back and talk to me, or just come back so we can talk about your offer. I'd love to work with you, right? And I'll make sure that the transaction is quick and smooth, right? And you let them know that that's going to happen. So come back and talk to me about making your offer. And I say that to every agent that comes through. You want them to come back and feel like they can talk with you. Do agents, buyer agents, like working with listing agents that are communicative and supportive and helpful? How many listing agents, especially over the last 2 years, have been jerks? Like literally wouldn't even answer their phone. Or like, I already got 5 offers, and stuff like that. No. Open the door and make sure that as that listing agent, you are telling them, I am easy to work with, I'm good to work with, I'm going to communicate with you, come back and talk to me, I'd love to work with you. Okay? Do people sometimes just want to convince their client to buy from a house just because they know that the transaction is going to go smoother? Yeah, so that's what I want you to do on that. Okay, so that's your represented buyer. What about your unrepresented buyer? You love those, right? Yeah, so you have to really, yes?
No, that's where
Oh, yeah, exactly. So on the unrepresented buyer, they're coming through the house, and what you're going to say to them is like, oh, I'm so excited that you came. So, and then what do? Always go onto the kitchen, right? You're funneling to the next step. Go ahead and register so that I'll send you a 3D tour of this home with the floor plan so you know the square footage of every single room. And it will, I'll give you a drone footage of this, the home outside in the area and even inside of the house. And then there's also an interview I did with a neighbor talking about the neighborhood and the schools and the parks and the stuff like that. Do you think the people looking at the house want to see those things?
Yeah.
And most likely they haven't seen all that. Even if they've seen a lot of your ads, they don't always, how fast do you flip through stuff on your Facebook wall and Instagram wall? So they didn't realize that's all there, so that makes them want to do that. And then I'll talk to you about how that's set up in there, but that's what you tell them. And then you can also say, and there's a clipboard in there with the listing information if you want more information. Then I tell them this, please come back and I will help you make an offer on this home if you want to make an offer on it. And if you don't, I'm an expert in this community and I can help you find the right home if this is not the right one for you. Do you think if they're looking at that open house, they're not already looking or thinking about that community?
Yeah.
Yes. And if they saw your advertisements to get you there, then they saw all your signs up here and they see how well you're dressed and they see everything else that you set up, who do they want to help them? You,
No.
right? That's what you're doing. So I want you to think in your head every time someone walks into the house, this is a future partner, a future agent that's going to work with me, or it's a future client that I'm going to have. If you think about that with every person that comes in and you're not pushing yourself on them, but trying to serve them in what helps them and giving them things that they want, it'll happen, right? That's what makes this so effective when you get all these people there at your open house. Now the last ones is you have the looky-loos and the neighbors. How many of you just don't care? You should care. You love them, right?
They're the future listings.
Exactly. They're the future listings. They get excited. So this is what you do with your looky-loos and the neighbors. The first thing, you get so excited. Oh, the Johnsons are going to be so happy that you're here. I'm so glad that you made it. Do you mind if I take a selfie with you? And because I'm going to send them all these pictures about the open house because they're not here, and they're going to want to know that you came. Guess what they're going to say when you say that? Well, yeah, that'd be great. I want you to take pictures with every single looky-loo and every single neighbor that comes in. They're going to be a future client. Then you're going to tell them, do you use Facebook or Instagram? I want to tag you on this, right? I don't even want you to ask permission. You just do it. It's like a teenager. Does a teenager ask permission if they're going to like someone or, they don't, right? So don't feel like you're imposing when you say that. Just be super friendly about it. Just act like it's just normal and natural. Hey, I'm gonna tag you on this because the Johnsons are gonna see it, and I want them to see it and stuff. And even if they might feel a little apprehensive, they get caught up in that enthusiasm, right? And then you're gonna take a lot of pictures, by the way, while you're there. Take pictures with them. Get them excited. And then you say, oh, by the way, go and sign in there. There is a giveaway. So you do a giveaway. It should be a local restaurant or a local mom and pop shop, type of thing that's there. I always like in the area that I farm, Sol Agave is this wonderful restaurant that I love out there. So it's always like, oh, and you get it. There's a gift card, or you could win a dinner for two at Sol Agave. And if they don't know what Sol Agave is, then you tell them about it because now you know something about their neighborhood that they don't know about. They're like, what's Sol Agave? Oh my gosh, you've never been there? It is like the best Mexican food you've ever had in this whole area, and it's this family owns it, and then you start talking about it, and then they get excited. So that's also the restaurant that you have your monthly, have you read about this yet? You have your monthly dinner party. Yeah, the monthly dinner party. We'll talk about this a little later, but the dinner party is the best client event You have, and you do it every single month with people that close during that time and the people that referred them. Best event you can do, better than any movie theater event or bowling event or water park event that you can do, is get that intimate time together. Anyway, we'll talk about that another time, but that's what you're going to have as a giveaway. So you tell the looky-loos, oh, go in there, register so you can win that, right? And then I interviewed Susie Smith, to talk about the neighborhood. You're going to want to see that, right? So I'll send you a link to that when you register. So they're going to want to register. You know what's working? When you literally have people lined up to register. You ever seen anything like that before? I have literally had people lined up waiting to register because of what they're going to get from it. Or they'll even wait and they'll go around the house and then they'll line up and register. So it works when you give them something that they feel is a value that they want, and then they'll register. It's a great thing to do. If you're not getting 60 to 80 new registrations, what's all that business that you're missing out on? But you're not going to get it if you don't give them something that they want, not what you're trying to get. If they think for even a second that all this is going to be is some annoying marketing thing, I'm already here at the house, I can already look at it, I don't have to put my name and phone number and email address into this stupid registration just so that you can start marketing to me. But when you tell them you're going to get 3D tours and you're going to get the interview with the neighbor and you're going to get the floor plans, right, and all that, they're like, oh yeah, I want that. And that's why they register. Does that make sense? Okay. Any questions about the people that you're going to meet and how you talk to them? Yes?
Do you have them register on the iPad or?
Yep. I'm going to talk about that right now. Yeah,
Okay.
I'm going to talk about that right now.
When you say, let me tag you, are you actually on a social media and are you on your business page or are you on your personal? Or
Yeah, so basically what you're doing, because that's a really good question, is I send them personally, right? When you friend them, it's personal. It's your it's your personal account. But then you can tag them. I know they've changed it a little bit on Facebook. If you try to tag someone on a post that you put on your Facebook business page, it wants it to be a business or someone that's like that page. So you also sometimes have to send them a like my business. Yeah, but yeah, I know that sounds a little weird and stuff. But I usually do it right there. Do they have their phone with them? Always. And you have your phone there, and they're like, oh, I'm going to put it up there right now for the Johnsons. I'm going to try to tag you. Did you get it? If you don't do it like that, later on they're going to not respond to it.
Yeah.
So I try to do it right there if I can do that. Okay? Good question. So now they're going into the kitchen, and there's your showstopper. And I call it a showstopper because it literally should stop them in their tracks. This should be something where they're like, whoa, look at how awesome this is, right? Because you want them to stop and to soak in everything that's there. So one is you have to have good display skills. Don't just throw everything out on the on the counter all flat and just sitting there. I use little crates. You can use boxes or crates. Put it at different eye levels. You know what I'm talking about? Make it look appealing. There's going to be different kind of categories of what you're putting up there. I guess the place. You're going to have different sections of your little setup. One of them is going to be your registration, which I talked about. So you need to buy a stand. You can buy them off of Amazon, or just basically a stand that holds your iPad or that holds your Samsung or whatever you have. It should be the same device that you use to do your presentation, by the way, right? And if we need to, you can put a lock on it. If you feel concerned about something like that, you can lock it up, so don't worry so much about it. But I'd be really surprised if someone tried to steal that, but who knows? And then you have your open house registration. I don't know if you know that you can do this, but not only in Total can you do a single property website in Total Expert, you can also do a open house registration. Did you know that? And it takes seconds to put it up there. You can actually put the open house or the house's picture or any picture of the house as the background, and then it automatically puts a field there which shows your picture and your information. So it's all compliant, and it has them put their first name, last name, phone number, and email address, right? It does not ask all those other questions that some agents feel like, because it's all about them. Oh, are you thinking of buying in the next 3 months or 6 months or 9 months or something like that? Or are you pre-qualified? Or please don't bother people with that kind of extra stuff that you want. You can get that later on, but you're going to just have them register because you have a big sign behind it, whether it's on an easel or it's up on the wall. And what does that big sign say?
Register here.
It doesn't just say register here because nobody wants to register. Yeah? Because you're reinforcing what you said. Sometimes things have to be repeated. Sign up here to get or receive. What are they going to get or receive? 3D home. Yeah, you're going to get a 3D tour of the home floor plans with square footage, drone footage, and an interview with a neighbor who talks about the community, right? And you'll be entered to win dinner for two at a local restaurant, my favorite, Sol Agave, or something like that. That gives people a reason to want to register. Does that make sense? So you have to have that sign there too, to reinforce what you said and for them to remember, okay, I don't mind signing up for this because I want that. I might even know that they're going to now call me or whatever. I'm going to be on some sort of drip campaign, but I want that because I know I can unsubscribe anytime that I want to. How many of you have done that before? Well, I'll go ahead and sign up for it, and then I can unsubscribe if I want to do that. So, but you have to give them a strong enough hook in the first place, or they're not going to do it at all. Okay? Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Is this working? Is this helping out here?
Yeah. I just like that they have to type in their email address, so I don't
Yeah,
have to try to read it.
try to read it, exactly. And they purposely make it hard to read. Yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, my number is 8675309. Yeah, something like Okay, so you're going to, you have that there. And then, remember I told you put the MLS sheets. Almost every agent loves to put the open house flyers. We even have the open house flyers that you can get from Total Expert, and that's all right. But guess what that advertisement is? Honestly, what is an open house flyer advertisement for? No, it's not. It's for you. It's for you. They see the front of the house. They just saw it walking into the house, right? And then they don't see any other pictures. They see the number of bedrooms and bathrooms and all that they've already seen. They see the description that they probably already seen in some way or another. And then they see this big fat picture of what? Me. You, with your contact information. So please don't pretend to you or to anyone else that that's not an advertisement for you. And they really honestly don't want it. Nobody will. That's why you print out 100 and only 3 are taken. Okay, so, but it's all right if you want to print it. I'm all right with that. But guess what? You're going to flip that over. And guess what you're going to print on the other side of that that's going to be facing up? The listing sheet. Not you. You's on the other side. Sorry. Yeah. The list. I know it's all about me. It's all about me. Yeah. You're gonna have the listing sheet there. What's so important about the listing sheet? All the important information about that property. Now remember what I said before. Never put up an incomplete property. And when I say incomplete, I mean you know how many fields are in when you put a listing up there? Yeah. It might feel like a lot of stuff. Guess what? It is, and it's important. Put everything up there. If you have an assistant, you do not go to bed until everything is filled out on that sheet. If you need to go and measure rooms, then go and measure rooms. If you need to call the title officer to get this information about the HOA, you call them up. Everything's going to be there, and everything's going to be there before it goes live. Because remember, the first day, it's going up like that. And anything that gets people to wonder or not understand or whatever, it starts to diminish from that, okay? So you want to have all that information in there. So that listing sheet is really great. Then you have those clipboards there, and it has a pen attached to it, okay? And you have about 10 of those there. Guess what they do with that listing sheet? They put it on the clipboard, and they walk around the house. If it's an agent, they're taking notes. And they're circling things. Guess what that listing sheet does so brilliantly for the people that are looking at the house? Whether they're looky-loos, whether they're, not so much looky-loos, but of course if they're unrepresented or represented, but they're buyers, guess what that does for them? It helps them make a faster offer. You want them to be walking out the door saying, okay, let's make an offer right now. And the agent doesn't have to say, I got to go back and figure all this stuff out. It's all right here. I can figure out what I need to know or answer all the questions before we make a final decision. I've made my decision. You've answered all my questions. You're trying to give them everything that they need to know to make that decision, right, on that sheet. And if you put it on a clipboard, what does that do? How many of you have had one where you have a piece of paper and you're like, here, turn around, or something like that. You want to have it so it's easy for them to write notes and take notes on it as well. Make sense? Okay? And then you're going to have snacks and drinks on there. Here's the thing. Never have anything opened that's like they eat right there. It makes a mess and it can smell. I've seen one where like in urban areas they want to do something fancy and have cheese and wine. You know what cheese and wine smells like after it's been sitting there for a while? It is not good. I even went to one where they had a nacho bar. Oh my gosh. You know what nachos smell like? It's like dirty socks throughout the house, right? So don't have any open food there. It makes messes and it's not good. And it's not a buffet. You're not feeding people. Right? There's one agent, I thought it was pretty cool, but they have a food truck out front, to attract people to come. Yeah, you can make a big party out of it, but it really should be about them going to the house. So the best thing to do is get a really good quality cookie. I don't care what diet you're on, and you won't admit it, no matter what diet you're on, but everybody will eat a good cookie, right? Even if you say, I'm just going to take a little bite of it, and then you take another, and before an hour, it's all gone. But everybody, so put a really good cookie, but put it in a cellophane wrap, okay? It's in the cellophane wrap, and you staple your business card to it. Or if you want to be fancy about it, you can do little ties or whatever else you want to do. But you know what people will do when they have a good cookie that's a good quality one, looks good. It's not the Walmart sprinkle cookie, right? Sugar cookie. It's a really good quality cookie. You're going to have to spend a little bit of money, but it's worth it, okay? They're going to take that cookie, they'll walk around the house with it, but they will not open it while they're in the house. They'll open it in their car, and they'll make a mess in their car, but not in the house. But when they open it, guess what they have to look at before they open it? Your card, and it's the memory of all those things about how great that open house was, okay? Makes sense? And then you can have water bottles. Don't overdo your branding, but make sure it's enough there that they know how to get a hold of you, and you're there as well. You're just roaming back and forth between the kitchen station and the shoe station, right? The shoe cover station. Any questions about all of this? No? You got it? Does it seem like a lot? Yeah. It is. It is a lot. But is that not a good thing?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because is it going to be memorable?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Is it
Only 2
also...
hours.
Yeah, it's only 2 hours. But it's going to capture more deals. Okay? And then as you do it, and I'll get to you in just a second, as you do this, I'm more like Dale Carnegie in terms of I'm older and I've got fat fingers with my phone. I have the notepad that's the spiral notepad, so I'll take notes about everybody that I meet because I want to get more information. If John and Louise, from 3 doors down, and maybe I just know them as the Smiths or something like that, I'll make sure I'll put down John and Louise. Maybe they don't register. Or maybe they do, but I learned that they're 3 doors down, and they just said that they're almost empty nesters, and people will start opening up to you about things. So I want to put as many notes in there. So I want to make sure that I don't forget these things so that I can go back in there and update the database. And by the way, did you know that if you're using Total Expert as your database, as your contact management system, and if they register with that registration, it'll automatically go into your database under a category that you can create or a group that has to do with that open house. And you can set it up so it automatically sends out that email with all those links in it. Right? Isn't that cool? Mm-hmm. So you can have this all set up, all sequenced in a way that it happens. Even if you have an assistant doing, you don't have to worry or about people getting upset. Well, hey, I registered. Do you think people will get upset if they registered and they don't get those links?
Yeah.
Oh, big time. Yeah, they're like, I just wasted. Now you're going to market to me. They're going to think all those negative things. Let that email go out right away. I love it when they register and then they walk in like, oh, what's this? Oh, there's the links to it, right? Some people said, should I put it on a delay? Should I wait till later? I like it to go out right away. So that's something that you can do when you do it using this kind of technology. Okay.
Does it let you export the leads if you have a different?
Yeah, you can export them. Lots of different ways that you can export it by CSV and stuff like that. Or you can even import them from another system. You can integrate systems that way. Zapier is a really good way of integrating systems if you haven't used that kind of connection before. Okay. And so now, we're almost done. Almost there. You've funneled them through the house. You've taken all this information. So let's figure out what to do. I kind of got ahead of myself. Before the open house, you're going to let in all the VIP people, right? So this is the funnest thing in the world. I love this, is when you go to open that door. It's a half an hour before the open house. There's a bunch of cars parked in the front. There's a line of people coming in, right, to your house. It's really, I was with an agent who hated open houses. He was a young guy, and he'd been the benefactor of other agents saying, hey, go sit at my open house. And the open house smells, and the open house isn't staged, and it's not advertised well, and 3 people show up. And he's like, nobody does open houses out here. I mean, that was his belief, was that open houses are just a waste of time. He's like, I'm not even going to do them anymore. People used to ask me all the time because I would say yes. I do not say yes anymore. He's like, no one shows up. It was cool, the coolest thing. In the other book that I have, I actually used his quote that he said. He was we opened the door to his first open house that he did. He had like 11 people waiting to get inside of that house, and the whole area parked, with cars. And even one person said, I thought this was a VIP show, and they're like, well, look at all these other people that are here. So let all those people come in. Do the same thing with them that you do when, the rest of your group comes in. They put shoe covers on, you introduce yourself, you tell them to go in the kitchen, same thing, right? But the difference here with this VIP group, as soon as they go through, you're going to do a Facebook Live. How many of you have done a Facebook Live or an Instagram Live before? Yeah, it's not hard to do. You have to put record, and then it scares you to death, right? I do recommend getting a stabilizer. I even brought one, but I don't think I'm going to have time to pull it out to show it to you. But basically, it's your phone is in this, it's got a handle on it, kind of like a selfie thing, but it's basically, you can move it around without it being all shaky. So you're not doing a Blair Witch video, you're doing video that's smooth. And this is what you do with that. It's just going to be 1 or 2 minutes tops. What you're going to do is you're going to let those people come through, and then you're going to start this video, and hopefully there'll be people walking around as you do it, which is kind of cool. Just don't get their faces. Like if they're walking towards you or something like that, try to avoid people's faces in your videos, unless there's someone that you know and they're all right with that, right? Because your seller has now left, and you want to impress on them how great this open house is and how it's going, because that's what they want to know, right? So with this open house video that you're doing about 15, maybe 20 minutes before the open house starts, you're going to walk outside the front first, and you say, I'm excited for this open house today. We are at, give the address, show the front of the house, but then what you're going to do is show the signage. Basically, you're going to help them walk through the funnel. That's what you're doing, basically. So you're going to say, you can't miss the open house. When you come to the neighborhood, here's what the signs look like. They're going to see the big feather sign, and they're going to see hopefully some yard signs, as you do that. And then you walk up to the front door. You're basically showing them what to do. You walk up to the front door, please come on in, and you show that come on in sign. You don't have to knock, just come on in. When you come in, what do you do next? Yep, here's the station, and you show the sign up there, and you say, please, take a seat and put on the shoe covers. This is a really nice house, and we want to keep it that way. And then once you put your shoe covers on, then you come into the kitchen. You can get a listing sheet here, and make sure you register. When you register, we're going to send you, what are you going to send them?
3D tour.
The 3D tour. You're going to remind them of all those things. Yeah, you're getting it, right? You're going to remind them to do that. Right, and then as you're doing this, hopefully there's kind of people walking through as they see that, and they're like, "Wait a second, you just started the open house, and there's already people there." So all the people that that saw your ads are going to see that go live if they responded or engaged in some way, because it's coming from your business page. By the way, you're going to be on your business page when you do this. So all those people that engage with it, Facebook's going to say, "Oh, I think they're interested," and so they're going to show it to those people. Guess who else is going to see it? Because you tagged them on your ads.
The sellers.
The sellers. Guess what the sellers are doing right now? Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is this working? Is there a lot of people there? So basically, the first person this is for is whom? The seller, right? So then you turn the camera back on you. I can't wait to see you. Make sure you come out and take advantage, or get one of our great cookies, and you even get to win you could win a dinner for two at one of the best local restaurants around here called Solagavi, something like that. That's it. You do not do a tour of the house. Why don't you do a tour of the house? Because they're going to come to the house. You're just inviting them to it. So that's your live video. Look at all this marketing that you're doing along the way. Pre, during, post. You're going to do all sorts of great things that continue to showcase you as the best agent out there. And once you get into the sequence of doing this, and you've done it a few times, I promise you, it'll be so much easier. It's not something that you have to fret over so much. And you can put this into your SOP. Oh, I'm just checking these boxes. I get this done, I get this done. And you do it all, and you'll be surprised how much you can get done when you approach it that way. Okay? During the open house, be the best dressed person there and wear a name tag. Make sure you have open house sign-in. I need to change this because digital sign-ins are better. And make sure that you have a sign there. So you've reinforced twice or 3 times now. You got the live video that reinforces registration. Then when they're sitting down putting their shoe covers on, reinforce that registration. Then when they come in, they see the big sign. Get them to want to register, but because of what? Because of what they're going to get, not because of what you want.
And live video is on your personal.
No, it's on your business page.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, who's going to see it?
Well, you can always share it onto your personal if you want to. But the thing is, when you do a live video, I'd have to check on that. But I get a ton of engagement when I do it. I see all these people that are my friends that see it as well. But it may be because they've also been engaged with my business
And they
profile.
get notified when you go.
They get notified when you go live. That's right. Yeah, but on your personal one. So do 2 then. Do one on your personal, one on your. And what I'll do is I don't do it on Instagram because I don't use Instagram as much because I'm not young like you are. I'm an old person. Oh, sorry.
Oh, she did the
I didn't see
smelly
that.
house and went
Oh.
viral
500,000.
with your smell
Yeah.
thing.
Oh, really?
She started out with your house stinks. And she had, how many new?
I got like 3,000 new followers from it.
3,000 new followers?
How many
And
views?
500,000 views going up still.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
She said everything you taught.
Yeah.
Really?
It was like a 3-minute.
Wow, can I hire you? Because I need some, seriously. I'm looking for an assistant here. I don't know if you're interested. Okay. Well, TikTok, well, we won't talk about TikTok. I don't know what's going on there. Okay, and then make sure that your stations are in place, okay? So make sure those stations are in place. After the open house, so this is it. We're getting to the point now that you've finished up. This is what's really important about after the open house. Make sure that all those contacts, that information that you collected gets into the database. Try not to delay doing that. Sometimes I'll want to do it right away. It's so easy to think, oh, I'm so tired, I'm going to do it later. You forget a lot of things. Either write it down or just do it right then and put that into your database. The database is best used as notes and reminders. It's not about email blasts. It's not about all the other bells and whistles that a lot of these CRMs and databases try to sell you. All you have to do is make sure that your contacts are in there, make sure they're in the right groups, and then make sure you have good notes and good reminders about those. If you join our coaching group, I will teach you how to put all that together and how you make sure to do that every time you talk and meet with someone. That's the key to keeping up with all these people that are going to continue to grow, right, in terms of your SOI. So update that. Post pictures and thank you notes on Facebook and Instagram. So I want you to understand that as you are there with your phone all the time, even though you might not have very many breaks, don't forget to take a whole bunch of pictures. Now, you can take pictures of people walking away. You can take pictures of people that are friends that neighbors and stuff and friends that came that you got permission with. Hey, can we do a selfie? That's permission, right? You don't have to get some signed agreement or something like that. That'll be enough. You have pictures of your signage out front. Remember you did that Facebook Live. That's part of it. I want you to post all of those to Facebook and Instagram. Who's the most important person to see all those? The seller, right? And all their friends and all the neighbors, and they see all these signs. Again, you're building up this momentum towards all these people that are seeing this value that's now visible to them. How much stuff do you do that nobody sees and understands, right? Most of what agents do that they tout about has nothing to do that's tangible to the buyer or seller. They don't see it. Even though we talk about how great of negotiators we are and how we manage contracts and how we make sure the inspector gets in and all that kind of stuff, and they think $30,000 for that? Oh my gosh, is it not worth it? But they see an open house like this, that money starts to say, oh man, this was so worth it. Oh man, this was so worth it. And you're not charging more than anybody else is saying they're going to charge out there. Some people might discount their commissions to be their value proposition. You're not doing that. You're showing value, and that value continues to add up, especially once you've gotten to this lead up point to the open house. Okay? And then, of course, you're going to remove the open house and single property site from other posts. On the posts, you can do that later when you get back to your office, or even next day. For that, it doesn't really matter. But you need to take your signs down right away. If you have an assistant, have them take your signs down. That can take like an hour. That can take some time. But one thing I love to do that's really important is I love to leave. Remember, there's 3 ways to make things stick, right? There's the oral, the visual, and what's the third? Kinesthetic. So with every, remember the seller left. You told the seller to leave. And the whole time they're thinking, how did this work? Did it go well? And they're seeing your videos, and now you're seeing your posts, so they're getting more excited about it. But I want to leave them a leave behind that they can touch. So part of what I do with my setup is I have these little crates, and you can get them from Intercap. They have them, just a little crate that says welcome home. So it just has that welcome home on it. And then inside of it, I put enough cookies that will, for the whole family, right? And sometimes a couple extra ones. Leave them in the card, with the card. Guess what they'll do with those cards sometimes? Give them to their friends. They'll refer you. They'll refer you. Why? Why do they refer you? Because you asked them?
No. Reticular activator.
What? They refer you? I don't know what that means, actually.
The reticular activator part of your brain. And
Okay.
Buying and selling, so it's on the.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah, now, yes. I have talked about that. Thank you. You did mention that. What I'm thinking is that you've given them a reason to refer you because they see it and they can talk about it, right? It's visible to them. Oh, and then so this is what ends up happening, and we've had this happen before. A neighbor will come over or talk to them and say, I can't believe how nice your house looked, and all those signs, and the agent was so nice, and They'll talk about all those things that were there, and they'll say, hey, here's her card. You should call her or call him, because when you're ready to sell, I've never seen anybody do something like this. This is what you've done. What's the mission statement of a Captivate agent? Create raving fans. That's how you create. And what do raving fans do? They give out your business card. Yeah. So the tangible evidence is I'll put a thank you card, a handwritten. So I have thank you cards, and I'll go to a handwritten thank you card. Thank you so much for letting me, help you sell your home and do this grand open house. We had a great showing. In the card, I write. We had probably over 100 people here. We had 60 people here or something like that. Write it out. Do they want to know that right away? And they're not going to be there when you're there, right? And I'm hoping to get, and if there's any indication, someone said, hey, we're going to submit an offer. Do agents say this all the time? We're going to submit an offer. And you don't know what's going to happen, but I had 3 agents tell me that they're looking at putting an offer together. Just to kind of, and don't exaggerate, no over-promising and under-delivering, but, write those type of things down. And then, have you ever seen those little 4x6, they print 4x6 pictures, but they're printers. You can bring them with you. They're just portable little printers that you can bring, and they have an app on your phone. It's the coolest thing. You can take pictures and just swipe, and it just prints those pictures. It's really cool to do that. So even though you're putting a lot of stuff up on your digital marketing, your online presence there, and they'll see a lot of that, there's nothing that's more impactful and more sustaining than something that they can touch. So in the card, I put 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 pictures in there that I print out in the card itself. And then I put that in an envelope and give it to them. Because once they open the card and they read with my handwriting about thank you so much and here's what it was like, and then they look at the pictures, what is that reinforcing to them? This was an amazing event. It was a grand open house. Make sense? That's evidence. You got proof, and it's tangible in their hand. Do you think they won't show that to other people? Show it to their spouse or something like that if they weren't there when they came. That's it. That's how you do your grand open house. It sounds so simple and so easy, doesn't it? Yeah. But then you have to put it all together. So I did suggest and tell you that we do a next level of this coaching. So think of this as a lecture. If you're in school and you have the lecture and then the lab. Remember, kind of mentioned that before. So you've got your textbook. Read the textbook. Listen to what I'm saying and try to soak it in. Take your notes. But if you want to be part of the lab group, you will be there. There's only 10 that I take per group. And even though you're going to be here in Colorado, we'll do a group in Denver as well, and it'll be over Zoom. I will teach you how to put this all together. But whether you have me help you do it, whether you try to do it on your own, plus you've got all of the InterCap loan officers that are supposed to be trained and will be trained as accountability coaches. Yeah, I know, I'm just kidding. They can help too. We are here to help you because we know the difference between good ideas and good execution, right? How many people live off of, it's people probably too, and it's frustrating. How many people live off of good intentions and good ideas, and how many people actually execute on those, right? And what's the difference between those two? Everybody has good intentions and good ideas. But there are very few actually that put them into practice, that actually implement them. And like I said, what I'm teaching you, they brought me out here not to give you some golden nuggets. Otherwise, I'd just teach a class here and there, and we wouldn't do it in a sequence, and there wouldn't be a book. This is about putting together a structure and a plan. How many of you would like to have a little bit more structure and a little bit more plan? How many agents wake up, every day and say, what am I supposed to do today? What am I going to do today to get this next business? What should I be doing now? Is this the right thing that I should be doing? When you have a good operational business, people don't have to question that. They know what they're supposed to do, and they go through the sequence. So the last 2 classes that I teach, one of them is how to put your goals and your routines together. And then the very last one is how to put your morning routine together that leads up to doing your daily routines and things like that. Because once you put this together and that chain every link of that chain is in place and it's strong, you will be amazed at how effective this is. And I don't care if your link is a little bit different than my link as long as the link is there, right? You can add and enhance this as much as you want. But please understand that just like putting a puzzle piece or chain together, that one missing link or one missing puzzle piece of that is an incomplete picture or an incomplete strand that's going to help you to get where you want to go. So I want you to think about this in terms of a sequence of standard operating procedures, of business models, of strategies, like your marketing strategy. And once you've refined it and you do it and it works, guess what you can do next?
Do it again.
You can start delegating. The next step is you start delegating to other people to help you do some of the more administrative routine things that you can teach people how to do. But you can't just hire someone to do it and expect them to figure it out. You have to do it with them and show them how to do it. Make sure you're still the director and the orchestrator of all that. And then they work with you, not for you. Right? That makes sense? And then the next level of that, which is I love this part of it, right? And I had to go through this like you did. But the next level is when then you start teaching other people how to do it. They succeed, and you actually can make an override so you don't have to work on Saturdays and Sundays. And not that that's the reason you do it, but it's just that next level of being able to get to that point. You know how many agents, even after 30 years of doing business, get to that level? Very, very few. Even there are very few that even get to the second level, right? So make that a goal, and we'll help you to do that. It's doable. You can do it. If other people do it, you can. It's very interesting. I have a lot of friends out there. And I shouldn't say that. That sounds weird. But I have some really good friends out there that are very, very successful, even very, very wealthy. And you know what happens when I sit down and talk and meet with them? They're not any different than you and I. It's not that they're that much smarter or that they have the silver spoon, so to speak, in their mouth or anything like that. But what is the difference is they have purpose and they have a commitment to something that they stick with. And they do incredible things that you would never believe. Like in the book, I even mentioned about this one girl that my son's dating that I was just talking to, and she runs track for one of the universities out there. I was just asking her out of the blue, I was like, so how many miles do you run a week? 45. It's like, what? That's like 2 marathons a week. And for her, it's like, and when I look at her and but she's committed to doing 5 to 8 miles a day. Just what she does. That's what she does. You need to make what you do a commitment to excellence. And you'll be surprised how easy it is. So let the people out there complain about how hard things are while you leave them in the dust. Because once you keep doing it, guess what happens? You realize it's really not that hard. It's really just about being consistent about knowing what to do and doing it. I bet most of you probably work more hours than you really should be. I bet most of you are probably doing things you shouldn't be doing. Right? So let's get you in that mode of doing the right things at the right time, using the right people and being with the right people to do that, and you will find that your job and your success is greater than you could ever imagine. Okay? So next week's class is the Captivating Buyers class. We've gone through everything that you need to know to help listings or sellers. Be a master at the listing side of their business, and you will get more business than you can ever imagine, even on the buyer side. But next week, I'll teach you how to keep buyers. Keep them with you. I don't even care how they come in. I don't care if you're paying for leads and they're just coming in through some lead website. But I'll teach you how to make sure that they don't see you just as a door opener. You will have the ability to provide more value to what they want, and they will never call anybody else to look at the next home. Okay? So I'll see you next week. Okay, thank you for coming. Yeah, you're welcome.